informed that the mayor should be arriving later, so he will join us then. I know that Councilmember Jimenez, he's probably in the back. Let's get started. This is the City Council study session meeting, the cost of residential development in San Jose, and let's start with the roll call.
Jimenez, Torres,
Present.
Cohen, Ortiz,
Present.
Davis, Duan,
Present.
Gandelas,
Here.
Foley,
Here.
Batra,
Present.
Kamei,
Here.
and Mahan. You have the form.
And Jimenez is present.
Thank you. Okay, I will now turn it over to staff for the overview. Start with Jennifer. Yep.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Chris Burton, Director of Planning, Building, Code Enforcement. Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to bring back our annual cost of development report. I'm here with an army of folks to support us, from Planning, Building, Code Enforcement, from Housing, from OED, and then we've packed the box with experts to tell you the real truth about what's going on. So I'm going to start us off just with some context about cost of development. This is sort of really critical work for everything we do around how we solve for the housing crisis, to establish this deeper understanding and really inform a lot of our work, which actually, you know, when you think about the work we do around development, impacts so many other objectives that the city has as we continue to grow. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of context of how we got to this point, the story of how we got here. I'm going to talk us through our agenda and then provide a little bit more information on the kind of why and why we think this is really critically important before handing it off to the team. So the cost of development report was created back in 2018 in response to a memo that was written by former Mayor Liccardo that was a call to action around providing solutions to combat the housing crisis. So at that time, staff prepared what we called the Housing Crisis Work Plan that we now refer to as the Housing Catalyst Work Plan. And it was really a work plan that outlined policy objectives that the city could undertake to provide more opportunities to build market rate and affordable housing. We also sort of understood at the time that it wasn't just about policy, that we needed to balance that work with the realities of market conditions throughout the city and the region, which is really what drives a lot of the residential development that we see. So we added the cost of development report to the work plan. It's a specific item that remains there to this day. It actually combines with a number of other pieces of work to really help us understand the impact of many of our policy decisions and many of the cost implications that the city creates on development. And what it kind of does is it sort of demonstrates whether or not residential development works through different parts of the city, whether it's feasible, what we say financially feasible. The report is really based on a model that uses residual land value as a baseline and looks at key market areas that you'll see in many of our policy documents. We break the city into these key market areas and we use that as a baseline. And then we analyze residential development based on what we expect to be seen built out in the general plan. So it's multifamily residential development, type 5, type 3, type 1 construction. Really, the value in compiling the report is understanding that change that's occurring over time. So this is an annual report. We wrote the first report back in 2018. We came back in 2019 with the next one. Then we actually paused through COVID. Obviously, there was no construction going on or limited construction to understand kind of how the market was shaping up. We restarted the work last year with the cost of development report, and so we're bringing it back this year, and then we will continue on that annual cadence moving forward. I'm not surprising anybody by saying that obviously the report does not paint an encouraging picture for development at this time. But it's really important to understand that we use this report as a model and that it doesn't necessarily reflect the individual conditions of any one project, any one development, any one site throughout the city. There is a wide variety of factors that can impact the go, no-go decision-making around residential development and whether or not that project moves forward. Now, I know I could happily talk about this topic all day long, but I will try not to. And so we've brought together a wide variety of experts to actually support us today and talk through the reports. They're comprised of our consultant, Century Urban, who compiled both reports, the market rate and the affordable, as well as industry experts who'll give you information on key topic areas, including real estate, construction, financing, and then the added complexity of doing affordable development. We're going to kick off in just a moment with the initial presentation from our consultant on the market rate side. We're going to follow that with our first three experts on real estate construction and financing, and then we're actually going to pause for 30 minutes to give the council the ability to ask technical questions or specific questions around that content. Before we move on, give you the added context of affordable, and then we'll sort of open up to broader questions and comments and public comment on the back end of that. Following that, obviously staff will be available as well to answer any additional questions. So before I finally hand it over and stop talking, I just wanted to sort of hit home on just the importance of this report and why we value it from a staff perspective. So many of the goals and aspirations that we have for the future growth of the city as defined by the general plan really stems from our work with private development to deliver these changes to the future of the city and shape our built environment. But it goes beyond that, right? It's our ability to deliver on parks and amenities, on affordable housing, vibrant neighborhoods, how we bring residents closer to work or closer to transit, how do we present those opportunities for all of the folks that live and work throughout our city, and then ultimately, how does it impact our bottom line? Because as we grow the city through development, we grow property tax and the revenues that are there to help build and pay for services. So that's always been the case. We've always known that's the case. So what's changed and why does this continue to get more and more important? So one of the key things that's changed is that development is no longer a local business. It's no longer sort of local firms that are working in our city. The competition for development, for financing is not just national, it's global. And when investors, when banks, when developers are considering their options, it's this type of analysis they're looking for. They're turning us ultimately into a spreadsheet to say, what is the opportunity that exists? So our ability to understand that, to develop policy solutions and recommendations that help work alongside that and help inform council so they can make better decisions is ultimately incredibly important to how we see the future of the city grow. So with that, I promise I will stop talking, and I'm going to hand it to our consultants from Century Urban, Jake Kraft and Leo Ma.
Good afternoon, Vice Mayor and City Council members. My name is Leo Ma. I'm a principal with Century Urban, and I'm going to provide a brief overview of our firm before turning it over to my colleague Jake Kraft to present the residential feasibility analysis findings. Our firm has been providing real estate economic consulting services to public agency clients for over 10 years. We have offices in San Jose and San Francisco. The firm's principals have over 45 years of experience in real estate, including development, finance and capital markets, transaction structuring, including preparing financing plans for public-private partnerships. Our clients include, we have a focus in the Bay Area, and our clients include many Bay Area cities, which in addition to San Jose include San Francisco, Oakland, and Berkeley, among other cities. Our services that we provide our public clients include preparing feasibility studies or analysis for policy decisions regarding items such as impact fees and affordable housing. We prepare feasibility studies for potential specific development projects to analyze their ability to support public community benefits packages, and we assist cities with procuring and structuring and executing public-private partnerships. In addition to that, we also prepare fiscal impact analysis. With regards to public-private partnerships, some examples of the projects that we've worked on include the Mission Rock Pier 70, Potrero Power Plant and Balboa Reservoir projects in San Francisco, as well as the Howard Terminal project in Oakland. With regards to work that we've been doing for the City of San Jose, we prepared both the 2022 versions as well as the current versions of the residential feasibility analysis and the affordable housing cost study, which are the subjects of today's study session. And again, thank you for the opportunity to prepare and present these studies. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jake.
Good afternoon, Vice Mayor and City Council members. I'm pleased to present the results of our 2023 City of San Jose residential feasibility analysis. So what we're going to talk about today in this presentation is our general findings and takeaways. Then I'm going to walk through the prototypes that we studied, including some of the variations on the type 1 scenarios. I'll share our rent and sales price assumptions, the cost assumptions, hard costs and soft cost assumptions that went into our model, the resulting residual values per unit that we concluded, and then also the results of our stakeholder feedback meetings. So to begin with, we prepared this study in 2022 and prepared it again this year. Relative to 2022, the feasibility for residential development became more challenging, and that has a lot to do with current market conditions. Since we did the study in 2022, construction costs have gone up, interest rates have gone up, and target returns have increased. Construction costs have increased 12 to 13% comparing our prototypes from last year to this year. Interest rates have doubled over the past 12 months, and construction cost interest rates are hovering above 8%. Meanwhile, rental and sales prices have increased, but those increases have not been enough to offset the increases in costs and the target returns, and all of that has meant more challenged feasibility. As part of our report, we also looked at sensitivity analyses of each of our prototypes. We looked at 5% changes, both up and down, in rental rates, condominium prices, and development costs. But in all those cases, residential feasibility for development continued to be very challenged. So this is a slide of our prototypes that we studied. You can see we studied both rental development prototypes and for sale prototypes. And as was previously mentioned, we looked at type 5, which is typically low-rise wood frame construction, type 3, which is mid-rise wood frame and podium, and type 1, which you can think about as high-rise. And these ranged from 5 to 22 stories. The average unit sizes for our prototypes, a little bit smaller on the rental side, 900 square feet on average versus 950 and 1150 for the for sale units. The unit sizes for the projects ranged from 50 to 350 units, and we assumed parking ratio of 0.8 to 1.1 across the prototypes. In general, the parking we assumed to be above grade, except in the case of the type 1 prototypes where it was below grade. And we studied these prototypes across a variety of submarkets in the city. As you know, the different submarkets in the city command different rents and sale prices, and so we wanted to look at them across those various areas. For the type 1 high-rise prototypes, we also looked at a few additional scenarios. First, we looked at market scenarios that assumed all the units were leased or sold at market rental rates or sale prices, and that inclusionary was covered by statutory inclusionary in lieu fees. We also looked at waiver scenarios, and waiver scenarios examined the same units and same projects, but assuming the in lieu fees were waived and 50% of the construction taxes were waived. Finally, we looked at affordable scenarios in which 95% of the units were leased and sold at market rental rates, 5% were leased at 100% AMI, and 100% of the in lieu fees were waived and 50% of the construction taxes were waived. This is a slide showing the rents that we assumed in our prototypes across the city. You can see the lowest rents per square foot and per unit were in the south and east submarkets, whereas the highest rents were in the west. And these rents were derived from looking at other new or like new projects that we thought were similar to the prototypes. So based on existing rents from projects that are achieving these rents today in the market, similar to the prototypes. These are the sale price assumptions we used for the condominium for sale prototypes. And again, we base this on current market data from recent sales of other new or like new projects in the city across the specific geographic areas that we studied. A key component of this analysis is the cost of construction. And here you can see across our various construction types and the rental and sale what our assumptions were for cost of construction. The biggest component of construction cost is hard costs, and you can see for a type 5 low-rise project that construction cost is lower, in some cases significantly lower than a type 1 high-rise project. Another component of costs are municipal fees, And these included in lieu affordable fees that I mentioned before, the construction taxes, parkland fees, school fees, and planning and building fees. The planning and building fees are the smallest component of these, in general less than 1% of the total hard and soft costs, whereas the biggest component are the in lieu affordable fees. We also looked at other soft costs. These include things like architectural and engineering costs, financing costs, other consultant costs that are required in the development of a project. And we finally concluded total hard and soft costs, which again, as I pointed out, are the lowest for type 5 low-rise construction, and as you get taller and larger buildings and as you move from rental to for sale, those go up in price. We wanted to show a comparison between our report last year and this year in terms of costs. The relative hard to soft costs, the ratio has not changed, but the costs have gone up significantly. I'm sure you're all aware there's been significant inflation in the economy. There's also been continues to be significant inflation in Bay Area construction costs. And over the 18-month period between when we did the research for the 2022 report and 2023 report, the cost increase was over 12%. This is giving even a longer historical picture of how costs have changed since 2018. We did not perform the 2018 and 2019 reports, but showing the total costs that were used in those reports and then our total costs, you can see that during that period, the cost of construction has gone up significantly. This slide shows residual values for the various prototypes, and as was previously mentioned, these are residual land values, and these are calculated as the total value of the project minus the cost to build the project and an assumption for developer return. And so when these numbers are positive, they indicate the amount that a developer could pay for land to buy a piece of land to build a project. In these cases, what you see is that these amounts are negative across the board, and that suggests that feasibility is very challenged in these prototypes. You can see that the type 5 prototypes have the least negative residual values, which means they're the least infeasible, whereas the type 1 and the more expensive construction is more infeasible. You can also see that feasibility is driven in part by what the rents and sale costs are in the market. So for example, the West submarket, which I mentioned earlier has higher rents, is relatively less infeasible than, for example, the Central submarket. We presented these findings and assumptions at several meetings with stakeholders, which included developers, brokers, and other industry professionals to get their feedback. And in general, everyone tended to agree with the conclusion of the report that development was very challenged right now. And I think that is also borne out just in the fact of the number of projects that are being built in the city right now. We did also get some specific feedback, which for the most part suggested that feasibility could be even more challenged than we've represented in the report. For example, some of the stakeholders pointed out that target returns on cost that they were trying to achieve 6 to 6.5% or even higher than the 5 3/4 we assumed in the report. They also thought in some cases that rents could be even lower than what we assumed in the report, and that operating expenses, particularly insurance, have increased so substantially that it's really making development very challenging. So all those factors, were we to factor them into our report, would make the conclusions even worse. But in general, the takeaway is that across the board, across construction types, across the city, unfortunately, residential development feasibility is currently very challenging and has even deteriorated from 2022. Thank you.
Okay, and so now we are going to move on to our expert panelists. to each give you about a 10-minute talk from their different perspective. The three perspectives that we have are the real estate kind of development, putting a deal together perspective, the construction perspective, and then also the financing. And so I'd like to introduce our first panelist. That is Jeffrey Henderson. Jeffrey has over 18 years of experience in the Bay Area commercial real estate and is the co-founder of CBRE's Silicon Valley Multifamily and Office Investment Properties Group. Jeffrey's investment sales experience has been responsible for closing over $10 million worth of commercial property sales or acquisitions, consisting of over 45 million plus total square feet, 3.8 million square feet leased, 21.3 plus million square feet developed, and 17,000 plus existing and developable multifamily units throughout the Bay Area on behalf of investors, developers, and corporate users. Noteworthy transactions include an off-market purchase of the 10.5-acre Middlefield portfolio in Mountain View, as well as working on the Irvine Company's Santa Clara Square mixed-use project, which includes 1,800 housing units. A little closer to home, Jeffrey was the lead for Google on their Downtown West assemblage. Jeff has been closely involved in underwriting the redevelopment and covered land plays located within rezoning plans for cities throughout the greater Bay Area for many years. Welcome, Jeffrey.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and CBRE appreciate the opportunity to present our thoughts on the market. Our Q3 national numbers just were released this morning for multifamily, so I'll be mixing in a little bit of those statistics as well. I talk a lot through statistics, so apologies if I don't have enough anecdotes. What we are in right now is a risk-off environment. If I could have been here at the beginning of this year, I would have been pitching investors, developers, that the Yardi Matrix forecast for 2023 positioned the San Jose MSA as the #3 overall market for predicted rent growth. As I sit here today, the Q3 numbers went from January prediction of over 5% rent growth. Today we are at -1.7% rent growth in the San Jose MSA. Within the San Jose MSA, the central San Jose submarket contains downtown San Jose. Apologies for mixing in a Google reference there. A big change over the last 18 months for developers and investors is the yield over cost premium, what it means to get in and have a return as you put a shovel into the ground, get it through planning, and get it up to stabilization. What we could have sold last year and what we were selling last year was 5 to 5.25 return on cost, also known as yield on cost. As we sit here today, I do not argue one bit whatsoever with the presentation by Century Urban. The majority of national and global investors, as they mentioned, is north of a 6% yield on cost. For in A or main and main locations, we are still trying to get 5.7 to 5.9 across to developers. However, they will only engage on those type of transactions in what we call a close upon entitlement transaction timeline. That typically will move to about 2 to maybe 3+ years, depending on the municipality that they are trying to get that project conditionally approved within. As we also look at where the market is today, the market for type 1 projects has pretty much fallen off the map due to costs. Looking at wood frame projects is pretty much where most of the market wants to be, and looking at subterranean garages has also been out of favor this year due to costs. So as we move forward, we're hoping to see that there will finally be a shovel broken in 2024 in the San Jose MSA. I say that as not a single shovel has broken ground 2023 year to date in the entire San Jose MSA for a single multifamily project. So that is a little bit disheartening right now. We're also seeing a gentle rise in the vacancy rate in the San Jose MSA. Again, if I could have taken you back to why the Yardi Matrix believed that San Jose would be a top 3 market overall nationally in the US for rent growth, a lot of it was banking upon the return to office coming back in full force. I believe, or I think the last report I read, and I think there's multiple articles, was a little bit north of 40% utilization in the office rate in San Jose, and that we're seeing a lot of cell phone traffic that seems to show that we've got foot traffic downtown. However, the office vacancy rate would say differently. So as we look at a market today that was one of the perennially top markets circled on, as Mr. Burton said, the spreadsheet of investors across the US and the globe, it has now fallen off that spreadsheet from many of the institutional developers that we talk to coast. So for those reasons, we truly believe that a lot of the analysis and data that was provided by Century Urban really shows an accurate and honest picture. While bleak, it is honest and is showing that we truly do need more stakeholder investment into helping developers get to a yield on cost that allows them to actually deliver a project, but more importantly, allows them to get institutional equity partners on board specifically for San Jose. And at one point, many groups had put an X on San Jose due to planning. At another point, many groups had circled San Jose due to the Google story and to the VTA's extension of the BART line downtown. A lot of those now in flux have definitely caused a little bit of a pause on the aggressiveness of many institutional equity providers as well as developers. We've got a lot more information that we can pass around afterwards, but for this moment, I know that we're a little bit short on time, and I'd be happy to pass it over to our next presenter. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Our next presenter is Chrissy Davis. As the president for Core Builders, Chrissy oversees all projects currently under construction and works closely with clients in pre-construction. She has helped grow Core Builders into a company with $100 million annual revenue, building and rehabilitating projects for third-party clients and in-house. Chrissy has been building in Southern and Northern California since 2000. She's a civil engineering degree from Loyola Marymount University and a master's in construction engineering management from Stanford. She started her career working for commercial builders, but has found a home in the multifamily construction, mostly in the South Bay. In the last year, Core Builders has completed multifamily projects in San Jose, Santa Clara, Fremont, and Mountain View, and is currently under construction in San Jose, Santa Clara, Sunnyvale, and Santa Rosa. Welcome, Christy.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. We have a unique perspective because we build both market rate and affordable projects. So we skate a little bit of both worlds. We also do rehab work. So I'm going to tell some stories to help kind of highlight the points that we completely agree with in the report. Over the last 12 months, we have priced out 20 different market rate deals, none of which have a slated start due to costs and interest rates. The most recent one we priced out was a 25-unit Type 5 project in Santa Clara that's slated for students. It was upside down 27% on what they slated for the construction costs, which is too much to bear. They're scrapping the deal and trying to figure out what to do next. We finished a project in 2020 here in downtown San Jose, and it was a market rate deal. All in, total cost, it was $550,000 a unit. The pro forma was slated to sell it at $650,000 a unit. It's fully stabilized. The rents are actually higher than the general market. It went out to market to sell. The offers came in at $390,000 a unit just a few weeks ago. There's a major shift in the market, and there's going to be a lot coming up here that we're all going to have to deal with to move this market forward. It's not going to be one magic silver bullet. Additionally, right now we're having to staff our projects heavier than ever from a construction standpoint. Between the supply chain nonsense, how broken it is, how much we're having to get into the weeds to understand where products are coming from and how to get them to the site in a timely fashion, strains in the market with the subs, and strain, frankly, from some cities, various cities, of staff turnover, being understaffed. It's causing more staff to have to manage the project, i.e. more costs. Fortunately, when the market does come back and projects start to pencil, the market rate side will be able to pivot a little quicker on construction costs from a labor perspective. Some people know and some people don't that from a prevailing wage standpoint and from a union perspective, labor rates are set for the next 2 to 3 years based on the last 2 years. So if we've been going up 10+% a year, the next 2 or 3 years is already set at roughly the same projection. It just means that the union side and prevailing wage side won't be able to correct and pivot as quickly as the market rate sector, where they can drop labor rates to meet the better market. Having said that, I think San Jose can work hard and do its part in trying to be ready for when the market does come back. There's going to have to be multiple corrections in interest rates, in construction costs, but if San Jose can make sure that it is streamlined enough to push projects to a starting point, then it'll allow the markets to be able to build when it's ready to do so with the other factors. I'm looking forward to answering any questions that anyone might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chrissy. And last, we'll have Jordan Angel. Jordan Angel is a Senior Managing Director and co-head of JLL's Silicon Valley Capital Markets Office, with more than 20 years of commercial real estate experience. He is an expert in debt and equity placement transactions throughout the Western United States. Jordan has secured billions of dollars in debt and equity for all commercial property types. Regionally, Jordan has placed equity and debt capital for multifamily developments for developers such as Greystar, Hanover, Related, Bay West, Prometheus, Divco, Strata, and many more. Welcome, Jordan.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. So I'll expand just slightly on the introduction just so you can see where I'm coming at from the business. I help developers find debt and equity capital as stated. I secure long-term loans. I'm very active in the multifamily space, which I think is what's relevant to what we're doing here today. And our JLL Capital Markets team is also very active in selling properties throughout the region. I've long been close to this market in downtown San Jose. I was one of the leads of our Opportunity Zone initiative nationally, so it got me very focused on this market many years ago. And I'm a big fan of San Jose and a big fan of housing. So I'll start with a couple stats and then get into where we're at in the market. So Silicon Valley, as we know, is one of the highest annual wages of any US market, but still one of the lowest rent to income ratios of any major market. We're less than half of New York. And since 2020, Silicon Valley has seen its rent to income ratio drop about 8%, while the rest of the country, the renter burden has increased 8 percentage points. And it's really a result of our increase in wages that we've seen throughout the region while rents have stayed relatively flat. And I bring this up because it does give me optimism that there's going to be some rent growth and other factors that will help lead to the ability to develop some market rate housing. And also we have the increased challenge that high income individuals that would often be home owners in this market are unable to, just given the cost of for sale housing. So that said, what's happening in the commercial real estate markets, especially on the debt side? I mean, I think we skipped right over, economists may debate on whether we're in a national recession or what's going on with the economy, but I can tell you in real estate, we're definitely in a recession. I have a friend that joked we skipped right to depression. So we are an interest rate dependent business, and it's a relative yield, and the interest rates have moved significantly, whether it's the long or the short end of the curve, requiring investors to get more return on their money, and makes it more challenging to do development. So as Jeff had said, on the cost of capital has increased, so the return on costs that folks are looking for has moved from that 5 to a 6, maybe a 7. I mean, it's just, there's a distinct lack of capital in the markets. If we look at just construction loans, so your average construction loan, if you're building a multifamily high-rise type, it doesn't matter, you were probably 60-65% a year and a half, 2 years ago, and you were paying 3.5-4% interest rates. Today, you're probably 50%, and you're paying 8 to 10%. So that piece of it alone is incredibly challenging to make work. You're borrowing less money, and you're paying more for it. And then once you're going to stabilize that property, whether you're looking at the cap rate or the value on the back end, or you're looking at what your interest rate would be to hold it longer term, a lot of folks were underwriting like a 4.5 cap rate, or say you're underwriting to a particular value. That's related to the interest rate. So if that interest rate is now 8%, most of the market is just illiquid at the moment. So even for stabilized product, there is very few sales transactions we're seeing, which has just led to very few comps. The only stuff trading right now is really if a lender's forcing somebody to sell something, it's distressed sales, and you can't justify a new development based on somebody that's selling something below replacement cost. It's a gating factor. Let's see. There's the other piece on the debt part is there's very few participants in the market right now. All the major banks are out of the market. Mostly, it's probably a little bit of an overgeneralization, but there's just very few participants that are doing construction loans in general. The good news is if they are doing them, it's for multifamily, but you just need more money in and you need the overall returns to work. But it does make things more challenging to actually get deals capitalized. The other piece is there's very little, so I do a lot in the equity placement space, so helping a developer bring in a capital partner, be it foreign or domestic, to build market rate housing. And there's there's no pre-development capital. So typically if somebody would come in and they'd partner with a developer, there'd be some cost sharing agreement where they'd go, finish the drawings and get the permits and maybe finalize entitlements or something else. And that capital is just not available. So when I'm thinking about what everyone can be doing to help move this along so when it is time we can break ground on things sooner, the ability to just move things closer to groundbreaking, whether it's figuring out the drawings and costs or it's permitting or whatever else, that would be helpful to kind of move things along. The other piece that was in the report that was mentioned that's incredibly important and unfortunately no one in this room could do anything about is the insurance piece. And it's really been challenging. And in California, we got a quote this week for $3,200 a unit. So that means $3,200 a unit every year is going straight to insurance. So if you think about what that does, you got to get a higher yield and everything. It just makes it a lot more challenging. And then when we think about capital's pushback to investing in the Bay Area, the Silicon Valley, or the San Jose region specifically, some of it comes to the more statewide basis. There's fears around some of the rent control legislation. There's been a slow return to office in this market, although I can tell you from my personal commute, it's looking better. So hopefully that trend continues for all our sake. And then what else I got? Oh, there was some commentary in the report you guys had about land being worth zero based on kind of the underwritten return on costs. And while the spreadsheet may pump that out, I think I'd say the current math implies that development land is illiquid because, land is not worth zero, but that is the real issue is you can only take that variable so far to try and make the numbers work. And, if it's not going to work at zero, it's not going to work anywhere. One place we are seeing some bright spots is capital does like townhouse developments. I know it's not the density many of us are hoping for, but whether it's for sale, although for rent's a little harder to pencil in our markets, but there's been continued capital there. You can get them in the ground and build them pretty quickly. Traditional condo development capital very much does not like, just based on the construction defect liability and some other factors on challenges on financing and so forth. The other thing I figured I'd mention is on the opportunity zone capital, just because I've spent a lot of time in this space and understanding, especially the downtown area here has a lot of regions that fall within that. A lot of the groups that have been very focused on the opportunity zone thesis have kind of retrenched their capital to kind of save some of their existing projects because their interest rate reserves and their costs and everything else have increased quite a bit. And as we approach the capital gains date, there's the sunset on the payment of the program. I won't go too far into that in 2026, but there's some existing legislation out there that may kick that a little further down the road, which could be interesting and revitalize some of that capital to maybe help inspire some investment in this region. So overall, I think the report was great. I think it kind of spoke to exactly what we're seeing in the market. I think some of the commentary around waiving or holding back some of the construction or in lieu fees could be interesting if you were to explore that on wider markets and so forth. I think it could be, it's not going to make the difference today, but what it might do is expedite the feasibility of development by 12 or 24 months when that time does come. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. And so at this time, we are going to take that little bit of break that Chris was mentioning for questions to our panelists and our consultants on the market rate report. So.
Great, thank you, Blog A, and good afternoon, everyone. Really appreciate you all being here. Great to hear your perspectives, though depressing though they are. Why don't I turn to my colleagues and see who wants to kick off with a few questions? Okay, as colleagues think about their questions, let me, oh, here we go. Councilmember Torres.
Good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon. And thank you so much for this very bleak presentation, especially very bleak because obviously I represent downtown San Jose. So, and downtown San Jose has its challenges and we have our concerns, and I would love to see more cranes up in the air. I see you all nodding your head. I hope we can get cranes up in the air. So regarding city fees, and I don't know who might answer this, but is there a specific timeline for when we need to reassess these city fees?
I would say now. I mean, the sooner the better, because I think as people are entering those numbers into their pro formas and trying to figure out what makes sense, the sooner you're able to address that, whether it's holding those fees back until, you know, maybe the city's invested in the success of the property and you make up some of those fees on the back end if the project works out well, or it's, you know, some other element of just allowing them in their pro forma to get to a number that works for the return on cost.
Okay, so that was a good answer. Thank you. And I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, I'm not. We shouldn't entirely get rid of these fees. I think that if we have a process where they, you know, where once the project is penciled out, they can repay these fees, or they can, you know, pay these fees as they go, then that's, I think, something that we can all think about. The other one is, and I'm not Larry Stone, which is a good thing because I don't want to get booed every time I get announced somewhere. But can we waive property fees, even just for a little bit as a city? I thought that was a county thing.
Well, we only collect 14 cents on the dollar, but Nora or Jennifer, do you want to chime in on property taxes, how much flexibility we might have there, or anybody on staff? Here comes Nancy. All right. I knew someone would have the answer. So most of them are going to be state and county revenue sources.
Thank you, Nancy Klein, Economic Development, and you're right. Waiving fees is something that has been, property taxes, has been happening in other states and other cities. San Diego is the most recent. But there's been state agreement about waiving their portion and or county portion. Our portion alone would not move the needle because we're 14% on the dollar.
Doesn't mean it isn't something to discuss, but it's less of a lever than we might think.
No,
thank you, Nancy.
You know, I wholeheartedly believe that we need to build, right? That we need to build market rate housing, that we need to build affordable housing, that we need to build hotels, and we need to build office towers. But yeah, thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you so much for your answers, and I hope that we can get some cranes up into the air in downtown San Jose or other parts of our city, of course, as well.
Thanks, Councilmember. Councilmember Foley.
Thank you. Thank you for that bleak but honest presentation. We know that's where the market is, and I guess it's good to have it affirmed by experts in the field, so thank you for your expertise. I had a question, or just a clarification on the yield over cost premium. This is the profit that a developer is looking for in their project, to put it in layman's terms. Is that correct?
And
more or less?
A developer and their equity partner. It's a partnership.
Right, I understand. Yeah, okay, thank you. And last year they were looking for 5 1/4. That was an acceptable margin. Now they're looking for 6 and upwards of 6. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and is that related, the increased cost or the increased return expectation, is that because of the increased risk? And
I would say it's not just the increased risk, but the increased demand for yield. You can go buy a U.S. Treasury at 5%. Why are you going to develop to a 5?
Excellent point. That's an excellent point. I just renewed a CD at 5%, so with no risk. Christy, you had mentioned that San Jose could do some things to make it easier for developers, but you didn't elaborate on what that is. Can you elaborate on what you would recommend or what you'd like us to consider for a development? In what can the city of San Jose do?
Yeah, and I'm gonna footnote this by saying I'm a lowly contractor, but we do have a development wing on the other side of our shop, so I can speak some to it. As I mentioned, there's going to have to be multiple things that correct here for development to really move forward in the market rate side. So interest rates have to come down, construction costs have to come down, but and insurance costs have to come down, rents have to go up. Having said that, it's going to take maybe 10 different things to all pull together some amount for it to pencil. So fees and taxes, the timing of those, that's definitely on the table. I'd say speeding up the process of plan approvals will help. I'm actually encouraging all of our clients to push plans as quickly as possible so that they can buy low when construction costs finally come down, interest rates start to correct. And if San Jose can work on expediting, which I know there are some motions already in place that are headed that direction, to speed up the whole approval process, it'll help get things to the starting line that much faster.
Thank you. I'm glad you referred to timing because time is money, as we know, and interest rates are continuing to rise, so the longer it takes to get through the approval process, the higher the costs are going to be with increased interest rates. You mentioned several things that we have no control over. The cost of insurance, I know it's really high, but I was shocked to hear $3,200 per unit
per year.
When you're renting those units for $3,000, I don't know how that will never pencil out. And I was hoping for a fix at the state, but we don't have a state fix for insurance. But that affects everybody from the individual homeowner all the way up to development. I had no idea that it would affect you so much. Of course, interest rates, we don't have any ability to change either, nor the property taxes. Most of the property taxes go to the county and the schools anyway, and we wouldn't want to decrease the amount of money going to the schools. That would be counterintuitive to we really want the schools to be better and have more money, and they go together, not reducing their funds. Any other recommendations that you can think of, or anyone have other recommendations on things that the city of San Jose can do?
I mean, I know the property tax is the tough one, but we've seen in other municipalities where there's a sunset, and I don't understand, how much goes to the city versus the county. That's not my level of expertise. But we've seen where like a Seattle will have a 10-year program where if you do certain levels of affordability within the project, so it's the carrot rather than the requirement, you're able to have that waiver of property tax for a period of time, which then would create the asset and then create that tax base. It's just delayed versus having it be a parking lot or whatever the current development might be.
Right, there's a big difference in property taxes for affordable housing developments versus market rate, and I think we're going to get into affordable housing in the next presentation, but as far as market rate is concerned.
One other item.
Go ahead,
if we
please.
take a page from Mayor Breed's book that she just put forth legislation in the city of San Francisco to reduce the BMR ratio from 25-ish%, they cut it in half. So that would be another recommendation. The majority of market rate pro formas are severely impacted by 15% BMR, let alone the different buckets of AMI levels that are required within that 15%, with the majority of municipalities trying to force extremely low and very low AMI levels into these development pro formas. So one recommendation might be to minimum of reduction of 50% of the BMR requirement, and even allowing those AMI different levels to be moderate or even above. Thank you.
Interesting, okay. Thank you, that's very helpful. Jordan, I was also surprised to hear that townhouses are attractive and that some developers are looking at townhomes and not condos. I understand the difference and why that would be the case. I think I'm going to leave that for now. I really appreciate, there's a lot of other things that are forcing or resulting in development not occurring besides the financial component, and that is a lack of workers to do the project, to build, a lack of materials or the supply chain. And I guess I'll just leave it with that and hear what the rest of my colleagues have to say, but thank you very much. It's very, very informative.
Thanks, Councilmember. Appreciate those questions. Councilmember Ortiz?
All right, thank you, Mayor. So, simple question. In the consultant's document, page 23 of attachment B, and my colleague, Councilmember Torres, already alluded to this, having the city consider waiving in lieu fees, the parkland in lieu fees, or other impact fees to reduce development costs. Have we thought about how this may impact our residents? Are we taking that into consideration, waiving these fees, what that would do? Anybody? John Ciccarelli, how would waiving the parkland in lieu fees impact our parks here in the city of San Jose?
Thank you, Councilmember. John Ciccarelli, Director of Parks, Recreation, Neighborhood Services. Waiving those fees would take away a significant source of revenue, although if there's no development, there's no revenue, of course, either. But when you hear us giving our capital infrastructure reports and things like that, and we talk about $500 million worth of a backlog, and it's probably larger than that, the more you take away and that we don't collect, the less we can succeed at reducing that backlog or doing those improvements. Every one of you, when I meet with you, always have needs in the parks that we can't meet.
Exactly.
And I will point out also, just for the council's understanding, when we talk about reducing fees, think for a minute if you took the park fees and let's say we just reduced them back to 2017 levels. I think in the report I saw since 2015 the cost has gone up a couple 100%. Is that right? Did I remember that right from the report? So say you want to do a discount and roll it back to 2017 levels. Well, guess what? We've never increased them since 2017. So the fees you have today are 2017 level fees in the Parks Department. So just remember that in consideration when you're thinking about what are we reducing and how much further back are we going to go. But clearly, it creates inequities. You know, we were out at a small little tiny pocket park the other day that we had just opened in a little neighborhood. It was one of those neighborhoods that were built back before we required people to build parks for neighborhoods. They had no parks in the whole Tropicana Lanai neighborhood, not one park. Right. Yeah. And yet, here we found this little triangle of Caltrans land just to try to put a playground on and try to kind of wedge something in there because that amenity didn't exist for that community. And believe me, they were very grateful for that tiny little park. So those are the kind of impacts I think that you would see.
Yeah. Thank you, John. And I think that displays my caution, and I want to share that caution with the rest of my council on any attempts we would do to essentially rob Peter to pay Paul. A lot of our districts, parks, need a lot of help. Some of our districts are park deserts and need parks in general. I think that it's a hard market right now for development, but it's going on despite that. I think that we need to think about what's best for our residents and our most vulnerable populations. And I appreciate, consultants who are developers, but they're from the developer industry. Why don't we have individuals who are from our residents who could be impacted participate in this discussion as well? Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Batra.
Thank you, Mayor. The comments were made about specific dollars and cents, which are fees. When I had discussions with several of the developers soon after I came on board, looking at ways that we can have more supply of homes of any kind, and one of their biggest item was the uncertainty which they have in terms of getting the permitting, because the uncertainty increases the cost, and that is not a visible cost to the city. Doesn't receive it, but the developer in a way ends up paying it. So I think in terms of when we are considering our ways of trying to make things better without losing revenue, I think that's an area we should focus, because we don't directly give away any revenue which we were getting, but we still help the developers in terms of being able to produce the supply which we need. So I would say that if that is your observation as well, or that's your recommendation as well, that we should look at the ways of reducing the uncertainty.
Yeah, so I'll say, I'll back that. I think that's a huge move in the right direction. I can tell you here in San Jose, when we broke ground on the Tamian Station affordable housing development, it took us 3 months to get a trailer permit out of the city of San Jose. So my staff was disjointed working from our main office when really we should have been out on site. So there's some inefficiencies there that could be true value adds to developments if we can figure out exactly when projects can get permit ready.
So, thank you.
And again, there was a report just published this week. The state of California came down very severely hard on the city of San Francisco's planning department and was requiring them to strip away a lot of the planning redundancies, the timing, and the inadequacy to help developers get through in a timely fashion. So that could be another litmus test to maybe look at that as another advantage for what we can incorporate in the city.
Yeah, thanks for that comment. I'm quite proud of our planning and building and code enforcement department, because they have been proactively looking for ways to remove the inefficiencies, streamline their processes, and in certain areas they've already done it. The others, they have a plan of work, which in 2023-24, they intend to have that. So I expect that you're going to find some very pleasant information coming out from them because of their proactive work on it. So that's a good news item. The other one I have is a question on, we have the inclusionary policy. Our desire is to get those inclusionary homes or the accommodations. Even though I don't have exact data, how many of the developers actually end up paying the fee, the in lieu fee, rather than build the inclusionary home. Since our goal is to really get those homes, and this wasn't supposed to be an alternative way of collecting some money, I would like to have your comments on it, because most of the developers don't seem to actually build the inclusionary properties. And is that fee really doing the purpose, what we really did this for, and what would be your comments on it?
I have not done a broker opinion of value in the last 24, maybe even 36 months on a single site with 0% BMR in the 9-county Bay Area. As far as I can understand, probably dating back to 2019, that might have been the last date, might have been even earlier in 2018, that the last 0% BMR site was ever entitled in the 9-county Bay Area. So as far as I know, the people we're talking to on a daily basis, every single one of their pro formas includes 15% BMR. And the fight literally becomes, what AMI levels am I going to be forced to establish within that 15%? And how much will that draw down my income and revenues? And therefore, how much little or less will I be able to afford in the land residual model?
But this is when they actually build those low-income homes, right? But if they're just paying the penalty or the in lieu fee, then that doesn't really achieve the objective for which we did this. We only get a little bit of the money, and we slow down the process and mess up the economics.
I'm not sure anything the city of San Jose is doing is really affecting the larger economic macro picture, worse than Jerome Powell right now. So, and again, I have not seen anyone in the work I've done in the last, probably within the last 5 years, contemplate an in lieu payment. Even in the developers in the city of Oakland now are not doing in lieu, as they have extremely escalated their in lieu payment. I think it's north of $40,000 a unit now. It was zero in 2017. So developers know that's a big red X when you walk into the planners, when you walk before the city council, to not have inclusionary housing on site.
So you're saying that is eliminating that might be a thing to do?
100%, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, I was somehow not catching it. Yes, so that has been my impression is that we created this inclusionary policy and collected the money, but we really didn't get the homes. And so now it just becomes a economic matter of calculation that can I really build those properties or not. So eliminating that would be one of the ways to improve the economics of the properties. Okay, so I think, thank you that, because that's what I see we may need to do in one area where we have a direct control property tax. We don't have a direct control on the total amount, but that one we have 100% control on it. So we should really look into that one, and that's a sizable chunk of money. And we should find other ways to get that inclusionary thing, because we do want those affordable homes, but this one is not giving us. Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Great, thank you, Council Member. Okay, we'll go on to Councilmember Dwan.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, staff and the expert out there to give us the report. I look at investor, even in the downturn of the market, inflation is high, interest high, there's always be investment when things are bad, and there's always investment when things are good. So this is opportunity for some of these investors to invest toward the future, not right now as a market, but future market. So my understanding is the rent is at -1%, am I correct?
Year over year rent change in the San Jose MSA is -1.7%.
And at what percentage would be a enticing percentage for investors that, oh, if I invest into build this building, if I can get 3, 5, or 10% over the next 5 years, and it makes sense for me to come and build?
Well, that takes on a different site when you look at it across all different product types. But for the majority of owners and developers, they're running a 10-year model, 10-year analysis on their return on cost, and they'll keep what they call market assumptions. The top market assumption being market rent growth. The majority of groups, again, 18 months ago, would have done probably 3% all 10 years as kind of a baseline. I think today, the majority of institutional capital partners that we've been engaged with are underwriting 0% in every year one, if not very aggressively conservative groups underwriting negative rent growth in year one. And then you might not even get to 3% rent growth until year 5. People might just be stepping it up 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a very, again, risk-off mentality, even for pushing your assumptions right now, and probably for the next 24 months.
Thank you. Now, my understanding is that the planning, building, and code enforcement working on to expedite their process to reduce the amount of time, at least 6 months, how will that help investor?
I think reducing timing on anything is helpful. So it's just if time is money and you have to carry the project, be it through an option agreement or ownership, it's, the quicker you can get something entitled and ready to go, the better.
Okay, so every little bit of reduction would help, but my understanding that our fees is like a drop in the bucket comparing to the overall scheme of, multi-million dollars construction cost.
I think when you think about it on either a per unit basis or per square foot or however it is, it's one of the aspects of the overall budget that's making things challenging. I agree with you that, you're not going to change interest rates or, the yield that folks require or something else. But as those elements tend to return to a more normalized nature, it will expedite when shovels can get in the ground by addressing some of the fees.
Yeah, thank you. As of right now, my understanding is the macroeconomic, right, the interest rate, the inflations, the cost of importing material from concrete to steel from all over the world, that's what prevent a lot of this investment. Am I correct?
The National Multifamily Housing Council released a report just about 1 or 2 quarters ago. Happy to send it to everyone, love to send it to everyone. That shows that 40% or slightly greater of any development pro forma is attributable to government regulations.
All right, well, thank you very much. That's all I have.
It's interesting. I would love to see that report. Okay, I think we probably all would if we can circulate that. We're on to Vice Mayor Kamei.
Thank you. That was a good tee off to my question on, it has been said that CEQA raises many specific development costs, and I know that there are multiple factors that, make the situation the way it is right now. And I'm just wondering in terms of, have you heard or seen or any movement on CEQA and what could be done in terms of streamlining some of those requirements? So that's one. The other thing is, I'm interested in, there are levers that we can control. Many that make the situation worse are things that we can't control, like interest rates, insurance. I mean, gosh, if we could do even something with those two, that would make a tremendous difference. So I'm interested in hearing a little bit about areas where we could actually have movement. I've been around for a little bit, and I remember when interest rates were 18%. But of course, the cost of other things was lower. It makes a difference in terms of how those levers are. And I'm wondering, the CEQA, the interest rates, how low would they have to go to move the needle? Anybody?
I'll just take the CEQA part. I can't say anything really positively is happening for any market rate developer across the whole state. The best piece of legislation approved in 2023, probably in the last 45 years of my life, has been SB 4 for the religious and faith-based parcel ownerships that has waived CEQA for being able to process their entitlements. And we are engaged with multiple faith-based institutions now, and I'm pursuing those ownerships much more aggressively than I will be pursuing market rate land disposition opportunities.
Interesting.
I'd say on the interest rate side, unfortunately, there's not a magic number at which everything starts to work. I'd say, it worked really well when they were 0, so that was helpful. But if we're looking at, what we see going forward, it's really a balance of where rents are and where returns on costs are and where capital chooses to invest. I mean, capital can buy any sort of assets, be it development, real estate, or otherwise. And there needs to be enough yield to be attractive to capital domestically and foreign to build multifamily housing.
And is there anything to be done about insurance? Anything?
It's above my expertise.
I mean, the last I heard about it was that Governor Newsom was attempting to try to set together a coalition or task force to do its own state-based insurance. But it's a problem from single family to multifamily. It's a problem for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I know that even for those who have to get FEMA insurance, those numbers have just gotten out of control. I mean, it's totally not affordable at all, which is a real danger, especially if you need it and you can't afford it in certain areas. So I'm glad to hear that. I hadn't heard that, but
I can say it's so far out of balance right now that we generally do type 3, type 5 structures, so wooden structures. We're being asked by multiple different developers to price things out in concrete because the costs skyrocket on any wooden structure. The permanent insurance, not the construction insurance. The permanent insurance is so abnormally high right now that we're actually looking to pivot materials completely into something more expensive because it's cheaper than the delta in insurance.
wow, thank you.
I'm going to jump in and ask Jordan a question. Jordan, you were mentioning $3,250 per unit on the insurance costs. Just for clarification, did that include seismic earthquake insurance, or would that be over and above that number?
Based on that investor, my assumption is it does, but I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. Appreciate it. Councilmember Jimenez.
Yeah, I have a question for Jordan as well. Jordan, I think you were one of the folks that wrote down your statement. I think you said Capitol does like townhomes. I think is what you said.
Yeah.
Not sure if I captured that properly, but to the extent that the current market or the Capitol does like townhomes at the moment, is there anything that the city can do to actually build that type of product and get something out of the ground, at least temporarily, while some of these other products aren't coming out of the ground? And if you can touch on maybe the financing for smaller projects, single-family homes, I'd like to better understand how viable that is these days.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and I think that we look at where interest rates are at, and the natural inclination is, hey, nobody's going to take a home mortgage. But that said, we live in a very desirable place, and people want to continue to move here. And anyone that has a mortgage at 3% isn't likely to move unless they have to. So the supply of housing has been incredibly low. So as folks can deliver housing, and you've seen this with a lot of the new product with home builders and so forth, there continues to be demand, and they can do rate buy downs and other things to get people into those homes. But if there's, it doesn't work for every site. It's not going to be a downtown product, but as you have some, but maybe larger parking fields or obsolete office buildings or whatever else that have a large enough site to help expedite any level of approvals that might not be there to get a townhouse product approved in those regions might be helpful to get some housing built.
All right, and the spirit of that question really is, if this product isn't going up, what can we do to actually create some housing, right? I know we often talk about affordable housing and market rate, all that's, supremely important, but I guess I'm just thinking about building what we can at the present time. And I guess a question for staff or anyone up here is that I know that SB 10 provides cities an easier path for upzoning in residential neighborhoods near transit and job centers, and I'm curious about how we as a city, and this again to staff, can utilize that state law in order to allow for some of these developments in say, smaller individual homes or townhomes or things of those type of products. And anyone that wants to take a stab at that, I'm not even sure there was a question in there, but any thoughts on SB 10 and whether...
Thank you, Councilmember. Yeah, it's a good question, and I think obviously the question around townhomes is one that we're getting a lot at the moment. The challenge for us as a city is that when we implemented our general plan in 2011, we considered our distribution of land uses in a very particular way. So we preserved the vast majority of single-family homes throughout the city in their current characteristic, and we focused development, so the 400,000 units that are in the general plan, into a relatively small land area. And so that's our urban villages, it's downtown, it's North San Jose, it's our growth areas. The challenge is that we're trying to preserve those opportunity areas because they are close to transit, they are close to jobs, right? Those are future areas for development, and we need to ensure that we preserve that opportunity, because once it goes to townhomes, we'll never get it back. Now, to your point, we did have a conversation 2 years ago, almost exactly, around opportunity housing and SB 10 when SB 9 was passed. So there is an opportunity for the city to continue to sort of explore this as an opportunity on areas peripheral to our growth areas. Certainly we don't want to get into a situation where converting land that's currently dedicated for high densities into lower or middle densities. We think that there is opportunity out there. It's something that we're exploring through the policies that are included in the housing element, so there'll be more to come on this topic. And SB 10 is potentially one of those areas, but obviously that's limited to just 10 units.
Okay. And can you remind me, maybe Nancy, just opportunity, it's been a while since I've heard the word opportunity housing. I know that sort of was at the forefront of every discussion that was being had at the city, and then it sort of seemingly went away. Can you sort of remind me where we are with that as you answer your question, Nancy? Or make your comments?
Yeah. So at the time, the council, previous council had directed staff to bring forward a proposal around opportunity housing. At the time, both SB 9 and SB 10 were moving through the state, and council's direction was to hold on opportunity housing and see how SB 9 kind of worked out. Obviously, there's some challenge. There was higher hopes for that program on delivering more density on single-family lots than there has actually been realized because of the way some of that bill has been structured. So that work got shelved. It's not currently being looked at, but we're considering sort of bringing some amount of that back through our work on the housing element.
Okay.
Thank you, and just wanted to add, that there'll be a lot of consideration council and staff would need to participate in for townhomes. One, building on what Chris said, if looking at the builder's remedies projects we have now, if they went through, it would cost, we estimate, at least 5,000 units to the city. And we need density in the city for transit, to achieve our hope for housing element to get passed soon. And also on revenues, that the information that we've had prior is that you have to be at something like 55 dwelling units to the acre for the city to break even on what costs are once Prop 13 hits and you only get 2% bumps. So for a lot of goals, townhouses can be a problem.
Right, okay. All right, thank you.
Councilman, do you know if SB 10 requires prevailing wage?
You know, I don't know the answer to that, if there's any. I don't think it does, based on stuff, yeah. So, all right, thank you. I suspect I may have more questions, but I appreciate, all the expertise. And I would tell you that, obviously, you all are well-versed. This is what you do day in, day out. For many of us, we're trying to wrap our head around everything you're saying. I appreciate your patience as we sort of muddle through some of this, because it's very complicated. I'm always interested in simplifying this to the extent possible for staff to tell us these are the different levers you can pull. If you do this, this might happen, or this will likely happen if you do this, and that really makes it easier, I think, for myself to really evaluate what path we want to go down, whether it's fees. I know obviously there was some questions about park fees, which I'm very sensitive to as well, but I think it's worth having a deeper conversation and a very nuanced conversation about what type of fees we want to sort of explore and see if they're worth pulling the lever on. So, thank you.
Thanks, Council Member. Councilor Cohen?
Yes, thank you. I'm going to ask Chris to come down again for a question, but just start while he's coming down with a little bit of thought about the time we're in. I mean, we're in a time right now where this particular topic is sort of an extreme because of the interest rate environment and the costs and everything are all aligned against us. So I just kind of caution all of us to not necessarily make long-term decisions about what is right and wrong based on the current environment, although it is an opportunity for us to talk about what levers we might pull that are short-term and what ones really are needed to spur development in the areas where we want to spur development. So I just wanted to ask you, Chris, following this meeting, there's a plan to come back to council with a revisiting of the downtown high-rise incentive. What's the schedule for that?
Yeah, so we currently don't have a schedule. I'm going to look to Blugger as well. This workforce to OED now, but the intent is to consider that in the near term. There's an opportunity to use the cost of development report to support that work. We have to bring forward a feasibility analysis when we bring forward the revisions to the program, and so it gives us that opportunity now to revisit that before the end of January.
Okay, and I guess my follow-up kind of question and desire out of this is that we think about what are the other development areas that we really want to incentivize and move forward, and what could we build to provide additional incentive areas, not necessarily citywide, but for example, I mean, I'm very interested in North San Jose, as you know, but we finally got the settlement done. We now have the potential to develop. It's been frustrating even before things got really bad this year on costs. It was always on the edge of whether we were going to get more stuff built in North San Jose, and I think we have a real interest as a city in seeing things get built there, and so we probably want to consider a North San Jose incentive fee waiver program, just like we have a downtown one, and obviously leave it up to others as to whether there's other areas for which that would be beneficial. And you know, we rely on these fees, but we also rely on actually getting more people into homes. You know, the fees are zero if there's no homes being built. You know, as an example, and back to the park fee question, I mean, we obviously are waiting for park fees from the development in North San Jose to build out the Ag News property, which is important to residents there. On the other hand, my opinion is that until we get to a certain density, North San Jose won't be the vibrant community it needs to be to support the parks and the amenities and things that the community needs. So it's kind of, you know, we can wait for the perfect, or we can try to incentivize the building out of that region. So I just want to sort of suggest that we think more holistically citywide as we come back with that downtown incentive discussion.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something we can add into the conversation, Councilmember. I think North San Jose is obviously a really good example when we look to the last time we were in this situation, coming out of the back of the Great Recession, 2008, 2009. And as bleak as this report comes across, right, it really is about setting the tone and the expectation around how do we build opportunities as the market shifts. And North San Jose was that case in point where we had 8,000 units entitled in the pipeline ready to go, so that when market shifted come 2010, 2011, we were able to deliver on 8,000 units in a relatively short amount of time. So I think as we consider anything from a programmatic perspective, as we think of any of these big picture issues, that is the intent, and that is why this report continues to be incredibly important, is it gives us that insight to be able to sort of make those recommendations in line with what you're saying. So I think that's something that we can definitely add to the conversation.
All right, thank you. And just back to my point about not making rash decisions in difficult times, certainly what we did in North San Jose back at that last cycle, waiting for the conditions to catch up to the desire for what the development we wanted, was the right thing to do, because now we have those high density, vibrant communities there. And I think it would be a huge mistake for the city to sort of shift to a whole different type of construction that isn't in the goal, in the roadmap for the city's goals, just because in the short term we're not in the right economic environment. So I think it's really important for us to hold on to really strategic places and do it right in those places, even if it takes a little longer to do it.
Yeah, we would agree.
Thank you.
Thanks, Council Member. We're going to need to move into a little bit of a lightning round, just because we have another whole section and another round of Q&A and public comment. But Councilor Candelas, you're up next.
Thanks, Mayor. Per usual, I'm going to try to keep my comments brief. I'm not trying to pontificate today on this. I do appreciate our panel's expertise, and you know, we get at the bleak outlook of things outside of our control, given market conditions, given our ability to get capital for those interested in doing so. So now, I guess this question's for staff. You know, while conditions for housing production at market rate levels is difficult, what can we do as a city? And this is a question. So what can we do to increase efficiencies and or potentially reduce red tape or bureaucracies? So, you know, as these folks interested in developing, who don't necessarily have the capital is not incentivized to do any development now because of the market conditions. What can we do while they wait to be shovel ready on these hard costs? Are we looking at what we can do? Yes, my colleague mentioned the high-rise incentive, but outside of that, with regards to permitting, development, et cetera, what are we doing proactively while the market is in the current conditions that we are?
Thank you so much, Councilmember Candelas, for the question. You're actually stealing a little bit of my thunder and my concluding remarks at the end of the study session, because we wanted to share with the City Council some of the things that we can do in this period while we're waiting for the market conditions to change. So I'll go ahead and share now several things that we're looking at. PBCE is already working on streamlining the permitting process. We're also looking at streamlining development and making it ministerial, and we're actually starting that work next year. It's actually included in our housing element. We're going to be looking at our market rate urban villages and actually doing the CEQA analysis now, getting that work done so that when we do at some point get development applications, CEQA is already cleared and development can go faster. We're also going to be bringing back to the City Council next year our work on the development fee framework. So instead of having individual discussions with you about individual impact fees, we'll have that discussion in totality and look at how we can perhaps streamline or at least make it more predictable for our developers. Chris already mentioned we're going to be bringing back the downtown residential high-rise program expansion. We'll probably do that in Q2 of next year. And on the affordable housing side, so some things are actually currently happening. We'll be making decisions on 2 NOFAs. So just a couple of weeks ago, we issued the new construction NOFA. Just this past week, we issued the acquisition rehab NOFA. So we'll be making decisions on those projects, and they'll be getting going as well. And then lastly, and we briefly touched on this, regarding housing for our missing middle, we're going to be doing some additional economic analysis and bringing forth perhaps some policy work on how we can get going in that particular area as well. And I see Chris is down here. Anything else to add?
I would just add from a process perspective, obviously there's a lot of work going on around entitlements and planning permits. When we talk about turning something to a ministerial approval, it has 2 benefits. 1, we're not bringing it through a public hearing, and 2, it's exempt from CEQA because it's no longer a discretionary discussion, so moves the process a lot quicker. On the other side, I think as the panel alluded to, there's the challenge around building permits, and so obviously we have a lot of work underway to help try and streamline and focus on our processes and our operations to help deliver on that much quicker. So when we talk about our programmatic approaches, whether it's best prepared designer or any of these other sort of things we're bringing through, it's really so we can create capacity within the system to provide more guidance and support to these bigger projects as they come through. Obviously, the vast majority of volume that we do through the building permit process is smaller single-family projects. And so we're trying to do as much as we can to move that out of the way so we can devote more resources to pushing these types of projects through much quicker.
Thank you. And I appreciate that, Rosen. I hate to steal a little of your thunder, but that's what I was going over in my head. I'm like, okay, this is great. Well, it's not great. This is grim. So what are we doing as a city to take advantage of the moment? And so before I yield the rest of my time, what does our panel think of what the city is doing and what we're doing as a city? I'm curious from you all, what you all think of some of the steps that we are taking proactively as a city.
So my team has analyzed greater than 50 housing elements in the 9-county Bay Area to look for site inventory lists, obviously for new opportunities for us. I would say that San Jose is still, in the top 10 of getting through entitlement timing and permitting. I would say that it's a red herring to hold up fees, although that is an easy one to knock down, as well as timing as the main arbiters of stopping development. The major issue here is always going to be property taxes and reassessments. That can be well over 50% of operating expenses in anyone's pro forma. So getting a waiver, a deferral, whatever we need to call it, of minimum 10 years, many institutional groups would say 12 to 15 years of deferral of property taxes, would absolutely greenlight immediate shovels in the ground.
Jordan, no?
Agreed.
Okay, all right. No, thank you, I appreciate that. And given our 14 cents on the dollar that we get as a city, you still believe that that would go a long way into spurring housing production for market rate development in our city? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks, Councilmember. Appreciate it. I see Councilmember Torres has his hand back up. Did you want to throw out another question?
No, I'm sorry. Councilmember Cohen and Councilmember Jimenez both actually asked my question, so sorry about that.
Okay, great. Appreciate all the dialogue, really good questions from colleagues. Appreciate the thoughtful answers. One thing I did want to touch on related to fees, I'm sensitive to what John shared in response to Councilmember Ortiz's question about the impact of waiving fees, for example. Obviously, we do have a lot of needs. We have significant unfunded deferred maintenance on our infrastructure. On the other hand, one of the analyses that I know we have done in the past, and Nancy, I'm looking at you, there was a analysis that we did on some of the fee waivers for downtown that showed if we weren't to waive property taxes, which could be the way we go to do a deferral on them, as you're suggesting, which may be a really good lever for us. But if we weren't to do that, the flip side was we found, I believe, that significantly reducing fees, the payback period was not nearly as long as I thought it would be if we could get the building in the ground. And it's all about making the pro forma work so we can get the building in the ground, build the units we need, get people housed, and then eventually there's the recurring revenue of property taxes over time. So Nancy, I don't know if you recall what we learned, but I remember on one project we looked at, the trade-off was pretty favorable. It was a reduction, 50% reduction in fees on the front end. Once the building was in the ground and paying property taxes, we were made whole within, I want to say it was 6 or 7 years, I thought. But do you recall that analysis? This is going back a couple years now. I'm sure the data would need to be refreshed.
Before I say something then be wrong, let me go get it and bring back.
Sure. Okay. But do you recall what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Okay. Oh, all right.
So,
well,
yes. And just to reiterate, just in terms of the development fees are 1%, and what we're really talking about are the construction taxes?
Correct. Yeah, and I think inclusionary was in there as well. This was the downtown high-rise fee exemption. Anyway, we can pull it up offline. Okay, thanks anyway, Nancy. And then I heard, just before we move on, I heard mention of market fear related to statewide rent control, and obviously, very contentious issue, can play a role in reducing displacement. On the other hand, I'm wondering if those of you who are in the market can tell us how market participants perceive that policy prescription and why it might have a chilling effect on investment, and just help us kind of understand from your perspective as you're trying to consider making investments in the state of California or not, why this is such a key issue.
Yeah, I'd say the issue is, probably much more relevant to places that have very strong and rigid rent control. We see it a lot in San Francisco and some other markets, but the elimination of a Costa-Hawkins allowing various municipalities to set their own rent control rules is just an additional political risk. And as you've seen, many investors lose capital on rent-controlled housing, be it in New York or San Francisco. There's been a heightened awareness of that legislation.
Okay. Any other comments?
I think there's multiple states trying to enact rent control or push it through, and it's already having chilling effects on capital and investment in multifamily in just about every single one of those markets. They are now putting the red X, as Chris Burton also said, on the spreadsheets on other certain cities, specifically Denver West in the Pacific Mountain region. Yeah. Multiple of those cities and major counties are looking at rent control, and it has a very high propensity for backfiring.
Yeah, in terms of less supply over time.
There's nothing worse than rent control besides a bomb going off in a neighborhood for supply.
Okay. And then finally, Chrissy, you talked a little bit about getting our house in order to be ready for when the market turns again, being predictable, being efficient, streamlining. There's been some discussion of that already. I'm wondering, what signals do you look for? What tells you that we're ready for that investment and that we are a reliable partner? What are you looking for us to make guarantees around turnaround times? What are we benchmarking against? What are the kind of indicators or metrics that you would be looking to that we should be paying particular attention to?
It's a good question. I'd say the proof is in the pudding to some extent, right? So when we're seeing plans go through multiple rounds, what's that turnaround time? We had a project that's still trying to break ground here in San Jose. That's a Project Home Key deal. And Lisa Joyner was instrumental in trying to streamline the approval process. So when we got to the right voice with the right understanding on the goals of the project, this was an affordable housing project, so it's a little different dynamic. The San Jose was a phenomenal partner on that deal, streamlining and getting it permit ready faster than I've ever seen. So when there's an alignment of goals, the city has the tools to pull it off with the right people at the table, with the right staffing capacity. So I've seen it happen, but there has to be, support on multiple fronts with this alignment up front.
Okay, that was a very diplomatic answer. If we're not aligned, I guess we can move on and maybe talk about it more offline. But I'd be interested to know, from a market participant's perspective, what are the benchmarks? What are the metrics? What do you need to see, and what can we actually factually demonstrate and report out to you in a transparent way that's going to be the right kind of signal to tell you, okay, this is a safe place. I'm willing to initiate this process because I have confidence that it's a consistently efficient process. We have plenty of dashboards. I'm all about dashboards, but what is it? What is the message, truthful, rooted in data, that we need to be able to tell the market in order to be a place where capital is going to flow?
Yeah, it's that turnaround rate, right? So how quickly from the first submission of plans to pulling permits, how quickly can we squeeze that up? And you have data already that reports that out quarterly, I believe it is, maybe even more frequently. So seeing that squeeze up gives everyone a better sense of sure-footed stepping.
Okay, and then just final question, lightning round for everybody who wants to jump in. Cities we should be looking to, presumably within the state of California is a reasonable comparison point, but cities you think are innovating or doing interesting things where you feel high confidence in doing business, who should we be looking to?
I mean, we're not doing projects almost anywhere in California right now, so it's hard to say.
Okay.
Agreed.
Yeah. Not much happening in California. Okay.
I'd say, I'm also in the affordable world, and we're still going there. This has been our first project in Sunnyvale. Their inspection process has been really streamlined. So we have the combo inspector, where he or she is looking at mechanical, electrical, plumbing, building all at once, as opposed to here, where in general we're calling for 3 different inspectors to look at the same thing. So that's been a wonderful breath of fresh air, and it's absolutely squeezed up our timeline for delivery.
That's awesome. Great. Thank you. Very, very practical. Appreciate that. Okay. Well, thank you all again. I don't know if we need to switch who's in the box, but I know we're going on to the affordable housing report, so I think we'll play musical chairs and then jump in. Thank you all again. Really appreciate your time and insights.
Yes, we are going to do a little bit of musical chairs, so just give us 1 second.
Okay. Great.
So our next portion of the study session is going to focus on affordable housing development. And before we get started, just wanted to provide a little bit of context and why affordable housing is so important. And our city has made a commitment to affordable housing really over the decades. And it was mentioned earlier, the importance of weighing different values or policy goals that city has. And like all cities here in the city of San Jose, we have lots of policy goals, and we know that we're often making trade-off decisions, but affordable housing is one of those goals, just like climate smart is one of those goals, making sure we have adequate parks for our residents and community services. And so just wanted to stress again how the city has been committed to providing affordable housing. I'll also add that one of the things that we have learned over the years, we can just look at our past performance in the last arena cycle that ended last year in 2022, where the city actually achieved 115% of its market rate target, yet we only met 26% of our affordable housing target. So again, this is why focusing on affordable housing, funding affordable housing, and producing it is so important for our city. And so with that, for this portion of the study session, we're very delighted to have two great industry experts. First, we're going to hear from our consultant. Griselda Blackburn is a seasoned real estate finance and development professional and is Senior Vice President for Century Urban, where she provides consulting services to public agencies like San Jose, to private landowners, developers, and tech funds. She has deep experience in evaluating project feasibility, formulating financing strategies, underwriting projects, and negotiating transactions. Prior to joining Century Urban, Griselda served as Vice President at Montague DeRose Associates and at BlackRock, where she assisted in launching that firm's first land development fund. We also have joining us this afternoon Alicia Klein. She is Associate Director of Real Estate Development at Resources for Community Development, also known as RCD, in Berkeley. She is an experienced affordable housing development professional who excels in collaborative problem solving, also partnering with faith-based organizations, creating quality homes that low-income community members can afford, and increasing equity impact through intentional contracting. Alicia previously worked at the Richmond Community Redevelopment Agency and also in San Francisco Mayor's Office of Housing. And I do want to note that RCD is no stranger to San Jose. They've worked on several projects, including Quetzal Gardens on Allen Rock, and they are also the affordable housing developer for the project at 797 Almaden Avenue that the City Council approved earlier this year. So with that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Griselda.
Thank you for that introduction. See if I get this right. There we go. Century Urban was engaged to conduct a study, which was an update to a study that we completed in 2022. And the purpose of this study is to evaluate the cost of developing affordable housing in the city of San Jose and review all of the cost components to identify trends and factors that influence the cost of developing in the city. We also compare costs of developing affordable housing in San Jose to other cities in California to identify cost variances to San Jose and what are the specific drivers of those cost variances. And we do this by evaluating cost and project data that is obtained from the tax credit applications for projects that received a tax award since the last study was completed. So we conducted this analysis by reviewing projects that received a tax credit since between the first round of 2022 through the first round of 2023. So this takes us from the time frame of the last report that was completed. We did exclude projects that received a tax award during the second round of 2023, and that's really due to the timing of when those awards were announced. So I just wanted to make that note. Of the projects that received an award, there were a total of 8 located in the city of San Jose, totaling 987 units. And these projects are all 5 to 7 stories, ranging from about 60 units to about 271 units. 43% of the project units applied under the large family housing type. 30% of the units applied under the special needs housing type, and 27%, which is just one project, one very large project, applied under the non-targeted. Comparing that to projects in the other cities that we evaluated, which are cities that are in Santa Clara County, Alameda County, Los Angeles County, and City and County of San Francisco. There were a total of 21 projects. We selected projects in these cities that had a similar construction typology. There were actually a total of 51 projects, but we selected 21 of those projects to ensure that we were making a apples-to-apples comparison. The 21 projects included nearly 3,000 units. They all had 5 to 7 stories, and the housing type allocation was somewhat similar, with 47% applying under the large family housing type allocation, 19% special needs, which is less than in the city of San Jose, and 35% non-targeted. So I'll go through this really quickly, but this slide is intended to show that affordable housing is facing the same pressures that's affecting market rate housing, which we discussed in depth. Obviously, construction costs have increased significantly, as have interest rates, and those two factors have resulted in the higher cost of affordable housing that we're seeing in the data. So in terms of our study findings at a high level, when we compare to the prior study, we see, which included the time frame of December 2019 through December 2021, we see that there's a major shift in the San Jose project housing types, with a much larger proportion of projects applying under the large family housing type, and a much lower proportion of special needs projects, non-targeted, and there were no senior projects in the applications that were evaluated. The building heights also decreased. I think that's a factor of where construction costs are today, and projects exceeding 7 stories or going into a type 1 construction typology are simply infeasible. We also noted that because of a higher proportion of projects under the large family housing type, average unit sizes have increased pretty significantly from the prior study. And that's because large family projects generally do require that the project provide at least 25% of 3-bedroom or larger units. What we also found from the prior study is that total development costs have increased significantly. So by 13% going from 2021 to 2022, and 24% going from 2022 to 2023. And we'll dive into that a little bit deeper. We believe that the cost increase is primarily due to larger units in the current study, which average about 1,171 square feet, as compared to the prior study where the units averaged 962 square feet. The higher costs are also partially offset by the lower number of special needs projects, although, as I'll show in more detail later on, there was a significant amount of projects that are at a much deeper affordability level. In fact, 5 out of the 8 projects that were received an award are projects that provided 50% or more of the units at the extremely low income level. And that compares to just 3 out of the 21 projects in the other cities. Extremely low income are projects where the maximum area median income for the household is 30% of AMI. And what we know is that projects with higher percentages of ELI units generally have higher development costs, which we'll discuss in a later slide. So when comparing to projects in other cities, we see that the average per unit costs in San Jose exceeds the average per unit costs of projects located in other cities in every housing type. For example, San Jose projects average approximately $811,000 per unit for across all projects, as compared to $658,000 per unit for other city projects, which is a 23% difference. When we look at the specific housing types, large family, special needs, and the one non-targeted project, we see that the difference is still quite large. For large family, it's a 20% difference. For special needs, it's 35% difference. And for the non-targeted project, 6%. However, while we are accustomed to thinking of affordable housing costs in terms of a per unit cost, we wanted to understand if there are structural factors that are driving costs to be higher in San Jose than in other cities. So we look more specifically at unit sizes. As I noted in an earlier slide, the unit sizes in San Jose are larger, slightly larger on average than other cities, but it's notably larger for special needs projects. As you can see in the table, the special needs projects, of which there were 3, average approximately 1,300 square feet as compared to the city other projects, the 21 other projects in the other cities that average 974 square feet, which is a 25% difference. However, we looked at the special needs projects in San Jose, the 3 projects, and we noted that all 3 of them, although they applied under a special needs housing type, are actually also large family, which suggests that all of the projects, with the exception of the non-targeted project in San Jose, are actually large family projects. So you can see Tamien Station is 52% of the units are 2 or greater bedroom units. Alum Rock, 50% are 2 or greater bedroom units, and the Charles is similar as well. So because of the unit size variances, we wanted to see how costs compare on a per square foot basis, because looking at it on a per unit basis doesn't tell the entire story. And so we do, when we broke out the cost on a per square foot basis, looking at every city that was awarded a tax credit in the 21 projects, we see that San Jose actually averages on the higher end, with only San Francisco exceeding, not surprisingly, the city's costs on a per square foot basis. There was one outlier project in Burbank, and that project is a little bit unique in that it was funded entirely by tax credits and permanent financing, and had very high acquisition costs, and also was able to include a pretty high developer fee, which was approximately $115,000 per unit. It was also a special needs project, which tend to be higher cost. So really what we're seeing is that projects in San Jose on a per square foot and a per unit basis are higher than the other cities evaluated, with the exception of the city and county of San Francisco. So since we see that San Jose costs are higher than most other city projects that we value in the study on a per square foot basis, we also took a look at the individual components of costs, which include acquisition, hard costs, architectural and engineering, permits, third-party costs, financing costs, reserves, developer fees, and so on. And we see that the City of San Jose projects on a per square foot basis are higher than all other cities evaluated, with the exception of acquisition costs, which were slightly lower, about approximately 5% lower than other city projects. But we do see that overall, San Jose projects are 15% higher on average versus the 23% when we look at it simply on a per unit basis. So while San Jose projects are more expensive, affordable housing projects are more expensive, they're not quite as expensive as you might think. So as I noted earlier, we see that San Jose projects have a high percentage of units that are set aside for ELI households, which I described earlier, are households that are earning no more than 30% of the area median income. That's 5 out of the 8 projects, which comprises 54% of all the units, had 50% or more of the units set aside for ELI households, which we deem as ELI buildings for purposes of this analysis. And that's in contrast to the other city projects, which had only 8% of projects that were within ELI buildings. And we know that development costs for ELI buildings are generally higher than costs for buildings that are targeting higher AMI levels, and that's due to the increased need for subsidies, the amenity space that's needed in order to provide the support services and office space, as well as higher operating reserves that are needed because of the lower level of income generated. However, even after accounting for the differences in average unit sizes, we still see that San Jose ELI buildings are higher than the cost of ELI buildings in other cities. So the next area that we looked at is, well, what's driving those differences? And as we've heard from the panel earlier, labor is certainly a significant factor. Labor for the city of San Jose typically comprises between 55 to 60% of total construction costs. And San Jose labor costs are on average higher in San Jose than other cities in the Bay Area, which include Berkeley and Oakland, which San Jose labor costs are approximately 2% higher, and San Mateo, which San Jose labor costs are approximately 1% higher. San Francisco, of course, is more expensive by about 2%. Also impacting labor costs is that San Jose projects, those that are receiving a subsidy from the city, require prevailing wage, which can often increase project costs by anywhere from 10 to 20%. We've actually heard anywhere from 10 to 30% from other affordable housing developers. And indeed, when we looked at the tax credit applications, there were 3 projects that had indicated prevailing wage. That doesn't mean that there weren't other projects that also had prevailing wage contracts, but these were the 3 that actually provided data in the applications, and we see that they comprise 16% of construction costs, which is in line with the 10 to 20% that we've heard. Just for your benefit, prevailing wage is determined by the California Department of Industrial Relations. It's set by the state, and it's generally required of projects that, or is required of projects that receive public subsidy. However, there are some exemptions, one of them being the projects that receive tax credits. However, many cities and even counties require it as a condition of funding. So we've talked a lot about impact fees today, and while impact fees comprise just 3% of overall costs, this is an area that we've heard from affordable housing developers and policy advocates where cities have control and can implement changes to improve feasibility. We compared the impact fees paid on the or included in the development budgets for the San Jose projects, which increased from the prior study of $12,100 to $19,900 per unit. And we compare that to the other cities that we evaluated. And you can see there are other cities that are a little bit higher. Santa Clara, which comprises of City of Santa Clara projects, are higher, as are projects in Alameda. However, we do note that other cities provide deeper waivers and reductions. We know San Jose also provides a waiver, particularly on the Parklands fee. But as you can see, the City of Los Angeles, which has a generally lower impact fee per unit than San Jose, provides a pretty significant discount on their impact fees for affordable projects, going down from approximately $32,000 per unit to approximately $5,000 per unit. San Francisco, which has the highest impact fees of any of the cities that we evaluated, provided the deepest waiver and or discount to impact fees, with several projects actually showing no impact fees in that they were fully waived. Next, we looked at funding sources, and while there are many other factors that drove up the cost from the prior study, such as financing costs, this is one area that is very specific to affordable housing. Unlike market rate development that requires generally 2 sources of funds, which is debt and equity, with affordable housing, you have many, many layers, which include tax credits, permanent financing, state grants and loans, county grants and loans, as well as city funding. And in San Jose, the projects that we evaluated averaged approximately 6 funding sources. And there were actually 2 projects that had 8 funding sources. And the more funding sources that a developer has to secure, the more delays and cost has to be incurred, because obviously there's time and energy that's taken in securing all those funding sources. So that means that city subsidies averaged approximately $84,500 per unit, which in the study, which was an increase to the prior study of $74,000 per unit, which was not too different from the other cities that we evaluated, which averaged approximately $72,800. So we also in this study, as we did in the prior study, is compared affordable housing to market rate housing. And we looked at costs on a per square foot basis. We compared the San Jose projects that are evaluated in the study to the market residential feasibility study that my colleague prepared. And as you can see, affordable housing projects cost more than market rate housing, and there's many factors for that. The only difference is that acquisition costs were generally lower on a per square foot basis, largely because affordable housing projects rely on dedicated land or on low-cost land in order to finance projects. We also noted that hard costs are significantly higher for affordable housing projects, and part of that is due to labor costs and prevailing wage, as we've heard. And then soft costs are also higher at $162 versus $153, largely due to all of the other costs that are associated with assembling the capital. The financing costs tend to be higher on affordable housing projects, and there's also higher developer fees. So in summary, our study found that high inflation and interest rates have resulted in a pretty significant increase in affordable housing costs from the prior study, so no surprise there. And affordable housing projects cost more to develop in the city of San Jose than most of the other cities that we evaluated. And part of that is that the city prioritizes development of ELI units, which was shown in the percentage of projects at that deeper affordability. And also from the most recent NOFA, which required that 40% of the units be allocated to ELI. San Jose projects also require more funding sources than other projects, in part because it's more expensive to construct. Impact fees are also higher in the city of San Jose than other cities, and all of these contribute, and also prevailing wage being required of San Jose projects that receive funding is also impacting. And so finally, to borrow a comment that my colleague Alicia made earlier today, affordable housing is more expensive really across all the regions than market rate, simply because affordable housing, especially in California, is intended to solve multiple problems. So yes, affordable housing for the deepest level of affordability, to pay a good wage, to provide sustainable development practices, and provide other community benefits such as childcare. So with that, I will pass it on to my colleague.
Okay, good afternoon, and thank you so much for calling this study session. I really appreciate that you are looking into this important topic, which I live and breathe every day. So I'm Alicia Klein with Resources for Community Development, and we are a nonprofit with the mission of creating and preserving housing for community members who are extremely low income, very low income, and low income, and building communities. So I'm here to answer 3 questions to validate, does this affordable housing cost study bear out in our experience? Secondly, how does the affordable housing ecosystem, how is it different from market rate? And thirdly is, how am I feeling about the industry and the development feasibility in the short term and longer term? So to react to the study, I validate that is very, very familiar and recognizable in my experience, in our experience at RCD. And I took a look at our most recent 8 developments to just check a couple of key benchmarks and see where we're doing in relation to what the stats were in the study. And so those 8 developments, in 2022, RCD completed construction on 2 developments. One of them was Quetzal Gardens. That same year, we started 4 other developments. And those 6 together, their average total development cost was $858,000 per apartment. This year, we started 2 new construction developments. Their average total development cost per unit was $1 million. And that is a 21% increase from that batch of 6 to the current batch of 2. I also took a look at what is the amount of local funding that is committed. I combined city and county funding because some of our jurisdictions that we're developing in don't have any county money or don't have any city money, and so it's a little bit of, I took them together. And the average was $200,000 per unit, with the only one development was, at the low end, was 130. All the other ones were over 150 and ranging all the way up to $300,000 per unit of local investment. And all of those, what we heard about the market rate drivers and the affordable drivers of cost are, we can very much relate to, of the land, the construction, labor and materials, the land values, the interest rates, and the insurance premiums. And again, those are, that's macroeconomic that no one jurisdiction or developer can control. And you may recall when we were here to seek approval for funding for South Almaden, in that time between when we had first contemplated the development and the interest rates were 4% to when we came to you in the early months of this year, and interest rates were 8.1%, that added $5.3 million to our budget. So that's just one little anecdote. So to talk about the differences between market rate development and affordable development, we like to call it a layer cake of financing. But the layer cake, you think about a cake, you eat it all at once. But this affordable housing layer cake, you build it one layer at a time. It's very sequential, and you start with the local funding, and then but those separate applications for the city funds, the county funds. Then you apply for the state funding, and that's where they have a certain number of funding rounds per year. And then you don't know, but then you have to apply for the second round before you know if you got the funding for the first round, and then you don't get it, and then often it takes several years because those funding sources are so oversubscribed. The one that is less oversubscribed is only 3 applications per, $3 of applications per dollar of funding. The one that is more oversubscribed is 11 application dollars per application per funding in that pool. And each year that often it might take 2 or 3 years to assemble all of that, and that is at a construction escalation of 5 to 10% a year. So that's what we have to budget for. And because we were talking beforehand, you just heard about the values that I like to talk about. Yes, I wish that it cost less to build affordable housing, but we're accomplishing so many public policy goals, and that is really driven by all those layers of public funds where the public dollar is seeking, well, the market isn't doing this, so we want the part that we're purchasing with our purse strings to accomplish more accessibility, more environmental sustainability, better paid construction workers, relocation benefits for anybody displaced in the purchase of that land, larger family apartments that aren't being provided by the market. So the value that's being delivered is very valuable. And a couple of those that I just want to unpack a tiny bit more are that the public sources are indeed prioritizing both extremely low income and also supportive housing for folks with special needs. So they're either coming out of homelessness, they have a mental health diagnosis, or some other kind of need that does drive a higher development cost. Those apartments need to be more accessible. They need to be more durable materials with more services space. And also the operating costs are higher. We're providing those services. And the extremely low income apartments, those, due to their lower rent, they either need a voucher, a rental subsidy, which is another application, or they need to have a capitalized operating reserve, which then goes onto our development budget. And in Santa Clara County, the Housing Authority is a moving to work housing authority, which has certain restrictions on the unit sizes. So typically, the folks coming out of homelessness tend to be small households, individuals or a couple. And the appropriate apartment size is a studio or one bedroom. Well, the Santa Clara County Housing Authority can no longer do studios, so that's where you're starting to see those average apartment sizes getting larger in not just San Jose, but anywhere in Santa Clara County if it has vouchers. And then the state priorities are prioritizing locating larger family apartments, especially in areas that are considered high resource areas. And so that's where you're seeing this awkward twins of the ELI, PSH, to throw out all the acronyms, the extremely low income, permanent supportive housing, and large families. And of course, we also, the state priorities are driving locations that are near amenities. They're near transit, they're near schools and libraries and stores and parks, and that's wonderful, and that is at a price. And so we are competing on the open market oftentimes for that precious land, and then to keep the cost reasonable, because we're using our own money. Often the public funds are not available at that acquisition moment. So we're competing for sites that maybe the market has passed over because they have some challenges. There's a high voltage transmission line, or it's in a flood zone, or there's some environmental remediation, or there are tenants that need to be relocated, or all of the above. And then we need to build a higher density in order to spread those costs over more. And in conclusion, to get to, well, what can we do about this? In the short term, some of the things that I know the city is already working on is getting a pro-housing designation that will help affordable housing in San Jose compete for the state funds that reward cities that have completed that process. I'm excited to hear about the work that the departments are doing to streamline processes, and to the extent that there can be funding to fully staff your housing and planning and building departments, that is fantastic. That really helps allow the developments of all sorts to go through. If you do consider waiving impact fees, I mean, affordable housing is still subject to impact fees, and that would be something to consider, especially for developments that are bringing infrastructure funding to the city, such as the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities state program, where for Almaden, thankfully, we got awarded, yay! And we'll be bringing over $9 million for bike and pedestrian and urban greening. And in the longer term, it's so important that really the big picture things I hope we're all rowing in the same direction on is increasing the funding that's available. And in November of 2024, there will be 2 ballot measures that we want to all be talking about and promoting. The statewide measure that will reform outdated rules and lowering the voter threshold to pass local affordable housing funding measures. And then pairing with that is our regional Bay Area bond measure that will have a greater chance of passing, and that will be delivering $10 to $20 billion for affordable housing needs locally. And check out the website, beginswithhome.org. beginswithhome.org. And then lastly is if we can somehow help the state's Housing and Community Development Department to also streamline and combine their funding programs and make it automatic to get an allocation of low-income housing tax credits and bond funds from SIDLAC once a project is fully funded, that would really help the whole state to move ahead, including San Jose. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Does that conclude the presentation at this point?
Yes, Mayor, it
Okay,
does.
great. Appreciate all of the insights. I'm going to turn to my colleagues. We'll jump into questions here. We are scheduled until 4:30. I want to leave time for public comment at the end, so we should be fine on questions for the next 25 minutes or so. We'll start with Councilmember Batra.
Thank you very much for the detailed analysis. I want to clarify on, you mentioned that the affordable homes in general should cost more because you're doing more services, bigger apartment and all that. Now, is it every one of those people who are low income require additional services, or we have a mixed bag here?
Good question. No, not everybody needs services. Many people are just they're working. They're just their salary is not enough for the market, and that is they don't need services of any kind. So when I was making that comment, that particular element is when we are housing folks that do have some additional special needs, and that is the priority of the state funding, and so that's where it's difficult to get fully financed without including a supportive housing component, because it will not get the state funding without that.
Yeah, so I understand that, but we don't need supportive services for everyone, but we are being asked to build that in our affordable home because we don't know who is going to be coming and staying in there when we are building that property.
Well, what the state is looking for in those funding programs for a commitment to serve people with special needs is it would be actually restricted to folks that are presenting with who meet that. They would only be able to lease that apartment if they do have a verified either mental health disability or referred from the coordinated entry system. And so, for instance, for RCD's developments that I mentioned, on average, we're including about 1/3 of the apartments that are designated as supportive housing. And so we size our supportive services plan so that that's the staffing level that we're planning is just for that component that is the special need component. And then, of course, if anybody else wants it too, they can, but we're not planning that 100% of the residents will actually avail themselves of those services.
Okay, that just raises the average cost because there are some which are high cost one and the other ones. Okay, so when I talked to the affordable home developers, it was very obvious the way you described the funding cake, okay, building layer by layer, and it takes about year and a half to get that funding secured because first you get the city one, then you get the county one, then you have to wait when state has enough. Now, one of the areas which is interest rate dependent is the third element in the funding, third layer of the cake, which was the senior loan from the financial institutions during the construction time. Bulk of that gets repaid to the bank or gets replaced with what the SIDLA, the investment credit equity amount. So this is all the stuff which I've been discussing with Banu and playing back to you. Now, if we did not have to go to the senior financial, senior loans, we just skipped from the city and counties thing, and then we got the funding secured from the equity investors, then this interest going from 4% to 8%, 7%, 9% would have no relevance at all to it. Eventually, that's where the money is coming from. Is there a way to get to that and eliminate this in process that will cut down the time as well as the variation of the interest will not have any impact on the affordable homes and we'll be able to get the supplies better?
Well, you described the process perfectly, and the tax credit investor will not allow more than about 10% of their equity to be dispersed until the very end of construction. They'll disperse about 10% at the start of construction, and then 80% at the finish, and then the other 10% like a year later after you finished your compliance. And that matches their risk profile. And so that would be fantastic if you can find a way to convince these institutional investors mostly to shift their risk to front load it. But that's, again, a pretty macroeconomic question that I am not in those rooms.
Okay. So that's a factor which does extend how long it takes us to get the project done and also affects the cost significantly because of that and also constrain our supply, okay? All right? Okay, I don't know where to begin on that one or where to end on that, but I think when I looked at the analysis, that looked like to me was the biggest barrier to getting things done, and maybe we have to talk it to the state level or wherever to see if any improvements can be made. That would cut from 4 years, 5 years project duration from conception to occupancy by 25%, at least a year. Thank you very much, and we'll work with you to figure out if there is a way to make an impact there, because otherwise other changes seem like were very minor we could do. Okay? So thanks a lot.
Council member, this is Banusan, Housing Planning Policy Administrator. The equity that the affordable housing projects attract really come from tax credits, and the tax credits come from the SIDLAC applications. So the structure, that's the reason the investors interested. I think that's the challenge there. So we couldn't do just equity and no tax credits, no senior lending, unless we just entirely take over the senior loan position. Then it might work. Then we just need $50, $60 million or $80 million per project.
Yeah, I understand the logic there, but that is where the bottleneck is. So we're trying to see is if there's any way to, because my whole goal has been to see what barriers and bottlenecks we can remove to expedite the matter, and that's where I found was the biggest bottleneck in the affordable homes area. So thank you, Mayor.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember. Appreciate it. Okay, Councilmember Foley.
Thank you. Really interesting presentation on affordable housing and comparing it to the presentation we just had on market rate housing and the differences. I'm curious about why, I mean, you touched on the cost of San Jose construction as compared to other cities, 811,000. I mean, there were a bunch of other numbers, but early on in the presentation, 811,000 per unit versus 658,800 per unit in other cities. Can you tell me what cities we were compared to?
Sure. So we were looking at cities in Alameda, which included Fremont, Santa Clara County, then San Jose, which included the city of Santa Clara, Los Angeles, which included the city of LA. That was the largest percentage of projects. Alhambra, one in Burbank, and then City and County, San Francisco.
Okay. And thank you. And one of you, I forgot which one, mentioned that that vouchers are a reason that the bedroom count is higher, and that's why is that why the square footage of the units are higher too, and that attributes to the cost?
I mentioned
Did I get that right or no?
Yes, that's my speculation, because that's been our experience in Santa Clara County, is that we had to shift where we initially proposed to have the supportive housing weighted towards the studios. We were asked to come back and revise that to take it entirely off the studios, and we had to move it to the 1 and 2 bedrooms. And for certain state funding programs require that you distribute equally upwards to the largest unit size. And so for that particular project, it was in the city of Santa Clara, we had to move the permanent supportive housing even to include a 3-bedroom.
So that was specific to the one project that you were talking about?
But any project that would be in Santa Clara County that was pursuing that major state funding source would have to do a similar type of upward kind of distribution of permanent supportive housing. And
I can,
extremely low income.
Councilmember Reagan Henninger with
Thanks,
the Housing
Reagan.
Department, I can put a finer point on that. It has to do with our housing authority, which is designated as a moving to work agency, which is a federal designation, which gives us some flexibility to pilot a lot of things and streamline some processes. However, as part of that designation, there is an agreement with HUD that we can't overswing and serve one type of household more than another. So we can't overcompensate and build all studios. And we can't overcompensate in the other direction either and build a bunch of 3-bedroom units. That's part of our federal agreement. There was a time locally where we did have a pretty dramatic increase in building studios. I think it was 17 or 20%. And that put our moving to work status at risk. And so now we're sort of right sizing, and the Housing Authority is no longer assigning project-based vouchers to studios. Hope that
It does, thank you.
sense.
That's really helpful. I'm understanding that a little bit better. I appreciate that. One question, I don't have many questions because I feel you explained it really well, but I do have a question about the target yield over cost premium. We heard what market rate developers are looking for, around 6%. What's an affordable housing developer looking for as far as return is concerned?
We don't think about return exactly in that same concept. We fund our operations. My salary is paid by our developer fee. That's how we pay our staff, is we earn developer fees, and then we can stay in business and work on our next development. So we do aim for a effective developer fee of about $2 million, $1.5 to $2 million. Sometimes we will show a higher developer fee in our uses, just for your information, Griselda. But even as high as maybe $5 million, but $3 million of that will be dedicated as a contributed equity contribution to the development. And the reason for that is that then leverages additional tax credit equity investment, because that is part of our eligible basis. So That's how on paper it can look like affordable housing has a higher developer fee than market rate, but effectively we're not benefiting from that higher fee. The project is benefiting from that higher fee.
Okay, just for clarification, you had mentioned, well, three numbers, 1.5 to 2 million, and then up to 5 million, with some of the up to 5 million going back into the project. Or so when you say developer fee, I think of that as profit. And when we're out in the community talking about our affordable housing projects that are coming forward, oftentimes our neighboring residents are saying, cut your profit. So it's helpful to understand what your target rate. I'm not suggesting that you're doing this for free, just as I'm not suggesting a market rate developer would be doing it for free, but it's helpful to understand what number you're looking for, so that not that we're stating that number, but just that we understand that there is packaged in that finance fee, the development costs, is a developer fee that you're benefiting from. And again, I'm not saying you shouldn't benefit from it, I'm just trying to understand the dollar amount.
And I think what I would also add to that is that on the market rate side, rents are market rate rents. And so a market rate owner would be receiving rents that cover their staffing to operate the building. In an affordable building, the rents by design are below market. Only rents on the apartments that are designated for 50% of the area median or above actually cover the cost to operate. And so when we're talking about emphasizing low, even deeper affordabilities, RCD is not covering, we're not getting cash flow, really.
No, I hear you.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the only way to keep operating. Yeah.
No, I understand that. Thank you very much. That's all the questions I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Foley. Appreciate it. All right, Councilor Ortiz.
Gotta press this thing twice. Thank you, Mayor. I just want to, say before my comments that I represent East San Jose, a very working class, working poor community, and I'm also one of the few renters on the City Council. So I take that role very seriously, and I have some comments to say in regards to this study. I want to be honest and say that I've perceived this study, especially the market rate housing session, to be one-sided. It was all from the perspective of developers, those who make money off of development, those who want to identify any way to make more money off of living, being able to live here in Silicon Valley. We didn't include the voices of those who build the housing, nor did we include the voices of those who will live or rent in these units. Two of the recommendations, I quote, of the last session were, cut the cost of labor, in other words, pay workers less, and another one was for the rents to go up. How out of touch from the everyday working person in San Jose were these comments? Who are used from the everyday worker and renter, who are usually the same person, pay them less and charge them more to live. May I also point to the fact that San Jose every year hits its market rate housing goals every year. Surprise, surprise. I guess it's not that hard as was outlined. District 5 has the worst rated parks in this city, the worst rated. I'm not making this up. You ask John Cicerelli. We also have the lowest quality of life next to a few other districts. So I'm offended when I hear Silicon Valley developers say we need to cut costs, cut taxes that directly support our residents in order to make these jobs easier. I'm also offended when people make comments like, we need to prioritize getting people housed, specifically in North San Jose. Who's being housed in North San Jose? Those units are not affordable. They're not affordable for working people. North San Jose has one of the lowest percentages of affordable housing units in our city. That housing is for incoming wealthy families and tech workers, not for everyday San Joseans. And I refuse to let that stand. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Councilmember. Appreciate hearing your perspective and you voicing it. Give a moment to see if any of my colleagues have any other questions. I'll just say, certainly a complicated set of issues. I do appreciate staff helping us understand the cost drivers and why projects are increasingly not getting funding. I think, of course, Councilor Ortiz makes a very valid point about the challenge to survive in this market here. I do think, from my perspective at least, and I'm always speaking for myself here, I do think that historically one of the biggest challenges we've had has been an overall underproduction of housing at all income levels. Of course, that's most acutely felt by our lowest income earning families, and I think we do need to be very sensitive to that. So I appreciate Councilman Ortiz always bringing that voice and perspective to the conversation. I also, my sense is, from at least the reading I've done, that if we don't find a way to get more projects, including many more market rate projects, to pencil and increase overall supply, that pressure is going to continue to be there and be as strong as ever, which I think in the long run creates a lot of downstream pressure on pushing up rents at the lower end of the market. We see more rental conversions to condos. I think certainly as we build, we need to be very mindful to try to bring as much subsidy to bear as possible on those very low income. You talked about the regional housing bond, which I think is a great lever for us. But I do worry that if we don't find ways to get more private capital to flow into building that market rate housing in North San Jose or West San Jose, I do worry that overall it's going to harm everybody, probably most acutely our renters and lower income families, because the workers who have higher salaries can outcompete and outbid the price of housing. And so fundamentally, I think the spirit of this, as I understood it, was really, and I think this is one of many study sessions we need to be doing, and it's our second one on housing this year. One key question that I think we're trying to uncover here is, how can we position ourselves? We don't control interest rates. We don't control many of the cost drivers. But what, if anything, is within our power to be ready to expand the supply of housing at all income levels when other market conditions shift? And I did personally find it helpful. I think certainly there are many different components to this question, so I don't think that we answered all of the challenges related to housing in the community, nor do I think that was the intent of this study session. But I appreciate the perspectives. I appreciate everybody who willingly came here and shared from your expertise and what you're seeing in the market, even if it is the case that there's plenty more to be said and other angles from which to look at the issue. I did see a couple of other hands go up, so I will turn to a couple of colleagues as we start to wrap up and move to public comment soon, but I'll go to Councilmember Cohen next.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to remind council about our commitment when we passed the North San Jose plan a year ago, that 20% of all units in North San Jose will be affordable, and we're very deliberate about making sure moving forward that the same mistakes are not made going forward as were made in the last round, the first 8,000 units that were built. In the first 8,000 units of the 32,000 unit plan for North San Jose, none of them were affordable, and that was a horrible outcome. And so we are committed to 20% being affordable. I'm very excited that hopefully in the next NOFA, the Charities Housing Project on Vista, Montana will be funded. That's a 500 unit affordable housing project. And as I've said a couple times, if we project out the housing that is projected in affordable housing in North San Jose, I think North San Jose will probably have the most affordable housing units in the city within a decade. That's assuming we can begin to build again, which, that's why it's really important that we can begin to build again, because those units will come along both with standalone projects like the Charities Housing Project, but also with our 20% requirement for inclusionary housing in North San Jose. So I am very optimistic that that North San Jose mix will change. I'm also, it's also very important, I believe, for San Jose's overall sustainability going forward, that North San Jose development is encouraged because of the potential and the amount of space there for building housing. So I just wanted to make sure that was pointed out.
Yeah, thanks, Councilmember. Councilmember Batra?
Mayor, you said that this is a pretty complex subject. This study highlighted many of the aspects, didn't cover 100% of the things, but I do appreciate the information which is brought out, because those are very significant pieces of information which we need to figure out how we're going to increase the supply. We hear about our affordable issues, market rate issues, and we hear about greedy landlords, greedy financiers, and all that. The biggest thing which we have, the only villain in this story is this supply constraints which we have experienced for last many years. Unless we really start looking at it, how we're going to increase the overall supply, we can focus on affordable homes, we can focus on the renters, and if we don't cover the total overall supply of San Jose's needs, we're going to have those affordable people hurt even more than what the market rate people are getting hurt on, because they will have the capacity to bear the increases, but the affordable ones won't. So let's be very careful when we try to make the villain out of the market rate people. Let's study the economics here and be careful that the market rate developers probably have saved the bacon in the last moment, that these people still have accommodations, they have the rental places. So let's put the priorities at the right place. Look at the study the way it has been presented. They have told us some of the barriers we have, and we need to work on those. We need to work on some of the bottlenecks which we need to work on, and streamline our processes to accelerate development in all spheres. That's the only way we are going to get out of this problem which we created over the years, okay? That's my comment, and thank you very much for the study which has been presented here. There are more things to learn. Hopefully those will be coming in more sessions. We requested these two, we got those. We'll get some more sessions to get the things covered. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Councilmember. Appreciate those comments, as well as Councilmember Ortiz and everybody else. I think both perspectives can have a lot of truth in them, and that's why we live in a democracy. Once again, want to thank our panelists for sharing your expertise and insights with us. I certainly got a lot out of understanding for both panels some of the real barriers and cost drivers. I think it will be one of many important inputs into policy decisions we make in the months and years ahead. We're going to shift to public comment and see if we have folks who would like to weigh in on this topic.
Mayor, if I could interrupt you before we do go to public comment.
Oh, you wanted to give your staff?
Well, I was remiss. Yeah, I think I did share earlier some of the things that we're going to be focusing on in the meantime until market conditions do change. I do want to state that we really do appreciate the opportunity to present this information to you. We'll have many more discussions. As Chris Burton stated, we're going to be on this annual cycle of updating this analysis and presenting it to you. I do really want to thank our consultants. They've put in a tremendous amount of work. Our real estate experts for volunteering their time, and so we really thank you for coming to share your expertise with us. And lastly, but certainly not least, I want to thank city staff. So many people behind the scenes, you see them in the audience. I have to give a big shout out to Jared Ferguson in planning, to Bigay in OEDCA, to Banu, who is in the box. She's worked very hard in the housing department, and of course to Blage, who has helped lead this effort as well. It's been a tremendous amount of work. We have brought these 2 study sessions to you as requested, and so we're glad to present the information. So thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you, Rosalind. Appreciate it. Okay, we're on to public comment.
We'll start with in-person speakers. We have 5 requests to speak. When I call your name, please make your way down to the first row of reserved seating. You will have 2 minutes to speak, and please state your name for the record. John, Eric, Rigo, Scott, and Larry.
I'm going to guess that I'm the John, since there was only one John mentioned. Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm John Hickey. I am VP of Development for Summerhill Homes. Those of you not familiar with Summerhill, we're a local developer. We've been building communities in the Bay Area for more than 45 years, including more than 900 homes in San Jose. We heard a lot of wonderful information, very useful information this afternoon, but I want to focus on just one narrow topic, if I could, and that is the city's inclusionary housing in lieu fee. We currently have more than 250 homes in the approval pipeline, in the entitlement pipeline right now, and the key thing, the reason I want to highlight that is that those are projects that were underwritten before we've seen the rapid increase in the inclusionary housing fee over the last couple of years. As the report from Century Urban highlighted, the feasibility gap Okay, sorry about that. For for sale homes is about $500,000 at the moment. And a big part of that is the inclusionary housing fee. It's about $55,000 for a townhome that we build per unit. That's a lot of money. When the city adopted the fee in 2021, they included an index provision, which is fairly typical, and it was based on the ENR CCI, the Construction Cost Index, which had been increasing at a rate of about 2.6% for the past 10 years. It has skyrocketed since. It's gone up, it's tripled each year for the last 2 years, which means that the fee has rapidly increased. I see my time's running short, so what I really want to focus on is a very narrow suggestion that perhaps the council consider the possibility, for the benefit of projects that are currently in the pipeline, of freezing that fee at the 2021 level for projects that are.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, Mayor Mahan, members of the council, Eric Schoenauer. And I'm going to give you more bad data. I'm sorry about that. But my main reason for coming up is to encourage you, strongly encourage you, to take action and to be bold and stay involved in this issue. I've been to these presentations many times over the last 30 years. Afterwards, everyone goes their own way. And I can tell you, nothing ever happens that's effective, and nothing ever gets better. So I'm hoping this time is different. And with 6 new council members who've never been through this, we're counting on you to vigorously get involved. So first of all, the data is terrible. The city's performance in producing housing is terrible. The first screen I give you is an analysis of cranes in the air around the nation and North America. And as you can see, San Jose compares terribly to other cities. Cranes are an indicator of major development projects, some commercial, some residential, but we're underperforming. And also you need to know that San Jose's problem significantly predates the pandemic and the current interest rate problem. This is not anything new, right? It's exacerbated by the current conditions. Going to the next page, the one foundational problem is the general plan is broken. Fundamentally broken for 12 years. No one has effectively made changes. You can see on the bottom that the units per year that you've generated and the new RENA numbers you have to achieve. You have no plan that's going to come close to achieving these numbers for market rate or for affordable housing. You only achieved market rate in the last 8 years because of the big flood of North San Jose units that came in from the old general plan. The fact is today, the process is more difficult than ever.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Where is the screen? What? Okay. Is it still ticking down? All right, Eric, go. All right, there seems to be a disconnect. Let's get it right on the next speaker. Eric, go ahead and finish your sentence or two.
and it's longer than ever. And a perfect example is, I have an affordable housing project that we want to submit on November 13th, and I can't get an appointment to submit it. Go to the city's website when you're done in your meeting, try to schedule an appointment for an entitlement. It'll tell you the next opening is Wednesday, January 17th. 12 weeks just to submit an application. The process is broken. It needs to be fixed.
Thanks. Okay, let's make sure we've got the timer up clearly. Do we have another in-person speaker?
Good afternoon, Mayor Mahan, members of the council. Scott Udall with the Hanover Company. I do want to briefly thank the city for acknowledging the market roadblocks impacting housing production today and seeking solutions. I do think it's a proactive approach that should be modeled elsewhere. I'd like to see modeled elsewhere around the Bay Area. I don't disagree with the conclusions of the consultant report or the testimony of the expert panel on market rate housing. I will pick one point of disagreement with the staff report that mentioned that the adjustment to city fees would not be effective or nor fundamentally change the outcome. We have over 1,500 units consisting of market rate and affordable units in the city's pipeline today. And I can tell you that those homes, for those homes, fees are a major cost bucket. They're not a red herring. And they're the only cost bucket that anyone in this room can control, unlike rates or unlike construction costs. So I would urge the City Council to consider an expansion of the downtown high-rise incentive program to apply to high-density wood frame projects citywide. We're fortunate that in San Jose you do have a template that exists, and it's just a matter of expanding it, and I think that would serve to spur housing production. The cost of a wood frame project today is much greater than the cost of a high-rise was when the high-rise incentive was adopted originally in 2007. This is high-density housing that aligns with the general plan goals. And just to cite an anecdotal example, we have a shovel-ready, permit-ready site in San Jose right now consisting of over 300 units. And if these waivers were applied, it doesn't mean, in all candor, that we could break ground next week. But it could be the difference between breaking ground first half of next year versus breaking ground in 2026. It can make a real impact. Thank you.
Hi, Larry Ames, long-term resident and park advocate. It sounds like the national conditions, the material costs, interest rates, and insurance costs that make development non-profitable at this time. And waiving park fees would not change that. But if you were to waive park fees now, it would be challenging for you to then add them back in again at some time in the future. Without the park fees, we're not likely to get any new parks for the new residents. And the existing parks will then become overcrowded, and they're also in need of maintenance as well. People need access to the outdoors. Even prisoners are given an hour of day outside to get sunshine and fresh air. These new developments are all high density. They do not have private backyards, and so the city parks are where they have their major source of being able to get outside and get the air. And for affordable housing, the residents there are less likely to be able to afford the cost of travel to go other places, like they can't afford to go to Disneyland or out to ski resorts or whatever. So they really need the local parks. Besides physical health, parks also are important for people's mental health and also for the health of the community, to get outside, to meet your neighbors, to meet your friends, to meet fellow residents. For San Jose to remain a vibrant and livable city, it's important to preserve this funding for our city parks. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen of the San Jose City Council and esteemed Mayor, my name is Rigo Gallardo. I'm a field representative of the NorCal Carpenters Local 405-9144 here in the beautiful city of San Jose. I come before you today as a carpenter representing not just my trade, but the countless workers who put their sweat and toil into building the very fabric of our city. Our hammer strikes and saws cuts our foundation on which San Jose stands. We need to ensure that this foundation is strong and equitable. As we discuss project development, subsidized housing, and affordable housing, we must remember that it is not just about the structures we create, it's about the lives we impact to achieve this. We need to integrate area labor standards into these projects. First and foremost, a livable wage is not just a luxury, it's a necessity. Without it, we are inadvertently contributing to a growing force of homelessness, and we are witnessing the rise of mental health issues and addiction. Workers deserve more than just survival, they deserve a fair shot at a good life. Furthermore, healthcare and apprenticeship programs are essential elements that can elevate our workforce. They offer a chance for us to improve our skills and our families' health. And our long-term prospects, when we invest in these standards, we invest in our city's future. Local hire is another key component. By giving opportunity to those within our community, we strengthen our bonds and ensure that our city thrives from the inside out. It is not just about building structures, it's about building a community. I urge you to consult with experts who understand the importance of these labor standards. Seek out responsible contractors who do not take advantage of workers with low wages. We are the ones who can guide us towards a San Jose where housing projects represent not just structures, but the promise of a brighter future of our city and its workforce. In closing, let us ensure that every nail we drive and every board we place contribute to a San Jose that is inclusive, prosperous, and compassionate. Let's stand together and build not just homes, but opportunities and hope for all. Thank you.
We will now go to our Zoom callers. Juan.
Dear Mayor and City Council, my name is Juan Estrada and I'm on staff with Green Foothills. I realize I'm stating the obvious to those who understand the need for both. Housing and access to nature are essential needs. The city's consultant notes that the city could consider waiving or further reducing park impact fees, which provide funds for new and existing parks. I join community members and others in asking you to protect our parks, protect our park impact fees. One should not suggest that we attempt to address one crisis by worsening another. Our community needs adequate housing. Our community also needs public parks and urban green space, which promote physical and mental health. Many parks still require repair and maintenance, and staff are needed for either to occur. For example, Elm Rock Park is still undergoing repair. By ensuring parks are well maintained and their staffing adequately funded, we create an inclusive environment that fosters a sense of belonging and unity in San Jose for the benefit of residents, just like the housing that is urgently needed. Both housing and park needs should be addressed. Park impact fees in particular should be protected and eventually increased. I also agree that the categories of stakeholders included in discussions should be increased. There's information that you may be lacking that would benefit your future discussions. We are all looking to you for solutions. Thank you for addressing the housing crisis and for protecting park impact fees. Thank you.
Next caller, Catalyze SV.
Hi, this is Alex Shore, not with Catalyze speaking today. Sorry about that. Speaking personally, I just wanted to thank the mayor for bringing up the issue of supply and demand. That is a huge part of it. And there is definitely research that shows that by increasing the supply, you can bring down rents to a certain extent. I also want to thank Councilmember Ortiz for the continued focus on the affordable question, because that's where the greatest need is. And we can help folks immediately by focusing on affordable housing. We've been trying to work, and I was looping the mayor in on this, and I know his staff has been talking with a developer called Oh Wow up in San Francisco and Oakland. They are building an 18-story mass timber project that they say they can build quicker and cheaper. And I wonder if that's a company at a future development study that we might want to bring into the mix. They built 16 stories in 61 days. That seems pretty quick to me. And I think we can bring costs down by bringing in companies like that to build housing, especially affordable housing in our city. I also want to thank Nancy and Chris and Councilmember Cohen for raising the issues around townhomes. As I often like to say, development decisions about buildings are often 50-year decisions. And though we're going through hard times and we need every single home right now, we can't afford to build at that low of density, especially in areas where transit is nearby or our downtown core. It just won't get the job done. So I would encourage the city and the council to continue to look for, at very least, mid-rise projects through most of San Jose, because the only way we're going to solve this crisis is building as many homes as quickly as possible. Thanks so much.
Next caller, Ruthie.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Ruth Callahan. I am a D9 resident. I'm a single family homeowner, and I have lived and owned my home since 1973. I just came to temper your enthusiasm and give you a little perspective on what the single family homeowner and the commercial property homeowner, the taxpayer, is hearing when I listen to this. I must temper your enthusiasm. Prop 13 will not be amended. We are not going to tax ourselves out of our homes. We will fight to continue to get the Taxpayers Protection Act on the ballot, and there will not be any enthusiasm for any of your regional housing bonds. There's a state bond, there's a county bond. We are not going to tax ourselves out of our homes. You must think it differently. And one comment I would like to make very emphatically is, why are you trying to solve all of society's ills with housing? Build housing, put people in the homes and put people in the apartments. That's what you need to do. Thank you very much for this time.
Next caller, Albert.
Good afternoon, City Council. My name is Alberto Lustre with the California Carpenters Local 405, and I'd like to draw your attention today to a critical finding from the study conducted by the UC Berkeley back in 2001. The study revealed a significant connection between prevailing wage, construction, and the privation of working families living in poverty. The prevailing wage ensures that construction workers earn a fair and a livable wage, which has profound impact on their quality of life. The average annual year-to-year in the prevailing wage hourly labor compensation for the construction workers is only 3% to 5%. Construction labor costs under prevailing wages are steady because the multi-year contracts and are less volatile than non-prevailing wage labor, and a lot less volatile than contractor and markup rates at material prices. Additionally, we walk job sites every day and know for first-hand construction workers on the residential projects are often victimized or victims of wage theft, tax fraud by unresponsible employers. We also know from talking to housing construction workers that because of their low incomes, for many of their houses are far away from the job sites. These makes the workers face an economic and emotional stress caused with crashing commutes. From a government survey, we know that the construction workers are more likely than the average California worker family pay over 30% of their income for housing or live in overcrowded or substandard housing. Most of the financial stress is concentrated among residential construction workers, who makes 33% less than the California construction workers who build non-residential buildings and infrastructure. In conclusion, the city of San Jose have an
Next caller, Roma.
Thank you. I'm a resident of District 1. The advocacy hat I wear today is on behalf of League of Women Voters Bay Area. We're an interleague organization that monitors MTC ABAG, and we have closely followed the potential regional housing bond measure. And I want to thank Alicia from HCD for mentioning this bond measure and drawing your attention to it The league board, Bay Area board, will probably make a decision, a preliminary decision in November. And then we plan to do a very deep dive into the details of the bond measure as the reports work their way through MTC ABAD committees beginning in January. And I would like to say, again, as a District 1 resident, I look forward to Mayor, you, and City Council members. I hope you take that deep dive with us and that you start studying this measure soon. And let me add to Alicia, I have the privilege of touring Quetzal Gardens. And I must send compliments to HCD and Abode, who are providing support services. What an incredible project. I know it's your first in San Jose. Please don't let it be your last. Thank you.
Blair.
Hi, Blair Beekman. In working how to bring these concepts together, I am simply starting from the idea that middle-income housing can be more flexible and simply give us more choices to begin now and how to well develop a thriving economy and with good humanitarian intentions for the next decade. I feel the future residents of current middle-income housing developments, as well as city government, will simply be more willing to address the ideas, concepts, and cooperation needed for the important future of mixed income, VLI, and ELI housing in local San Jose neighborhoods into the next decade as well. As middle income housing seems it may better develop an all boats can rise approach for the economy in the next few decades, this can also mean that costs and labor may also rise. Simple beginning ideas of compromise is to ask how to keep labor and construction costs down in focusing on middle income development. And if market rate housing becomes the main SJ goal, how can it have a major focus on the future of mixed income, ELI, and VLI housing in San Jose? Would these practices lack a better cooperation from the future residents of market rate housing development to ask? And however we move forward in the next few years, there seems to be an importance of how to develop a community-wide education of mixed income ideas and ideas of better neighborhood cooperation and understanding. Thank you.
Next caller, Aster.
Hi, my name is Aster. I'm from San Jose District 4. I agree that the park impact fee should not be waived or reduced because we do need that outdoor space. I want the city to explore high efficiency housing in addition to high density housing, and probably consider providing more parking or requiring more parking space for these units, because the street parking is a big issue, and there's a lot of crime on the street and cars get broken in because they can't park in their own garages, and we do need to address that. We can't just think they're all gonna do public transit, because our public transit in San Jose is not that great. So we're not there yet, and not everybody can get to work by biking. Also, I would like to address the prevailing wage for the workers that work on these new developments. We can't underpay the worker expecting them to be able to afford living in San Jose. And thank you for listening to my comments.
Next caller, Rocio.
Hi, this is Rocio, Interim Deputy Director of Catalyze SV. First of all, I want to echo some of the community members speakers today and definitely commend RCD on the housing project that they have introduced here in San Jose and its collaboration with community members to create a welcoming space. I think today's conversation is really looking for solutions like that, where affordable housing and units are being created in a way that is responding to our community members' needs, while hopefully also making sense for them financially. To Council Members Bacho's points earlier in his questions about, the benefits of services and the expense, I definitely want to share that community members see those as resources for their housing stability. That things like financial resources on site or some of the other community resources that Abode provides create stable housing and increase the likelihood that it becomes permanent housing for these families, which I know has also been a conversation that we've heard in these chambers. How do we ensure that people are moving into units and staying housed? And these programs are part of that solution. So the numbers may not reflect that added benefit, but it's definitely part of the economic impact. And I wanted to share that. Thank you.
Next caller, Haley.
Hi, my name is Haley Courier. I'm policy manager with Save the Bay. Thank you so much for the thoughtful discussion that's seeking to meet so many competing community needs. And as we work to develop housing solutions that ensure all residents, especially low-income residents, have homes, we must also protect our park funding. Park funding is always on the chopping block. The Parks Department is facing an enormous deficit. Parks are not a nice to have. They're an essential for the health of our communities. They're essential for bringing our community together, for mental health, for exercise, for helping people cope. And this is not the opportunity to reduce. This is not the time to be reducing our investments in our parks. It's time to protect what we have and continue to grow. The council should seek data-informed proposals for both residential and commercial uses to pay impact fees, and we also should see park impact fees distributed equitably throughout the city and not dependent solely on where development is happening most. Thank you so much.
No other callers. Back to council.
Great. Thank you. Thank you all again, and we are adjourned. Enjoy your evening. Thank you so much.